Well, good morning, committee. Good morning for those of you who are joining us today on a lovely day here in downtown Port Carling. I'd like to call today's meeting to order at 9 a.m. I would like to confirm that we do have quorum and also to confirm we have our CAO clerk and other members of our senior management team here and present today. We would like to continue to advise the public to provide any comment to TML public comment at muskokalakes.ca. None was received. However, we did receive correspondence to committee regarding delegation matter 5C, which is the street light request on Kidd Street. Today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and posted online. I would like to confirm that there is no supplementary agenda, and at this point would like to ask committee if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Okay, seeing none, thank you. Final notes that the motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite today's meeting. And voting, if members shall physically raise your hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. This is not considered a recorded vote. So we have moved through our administrative part of today's meeting. And at this point, I would like to invite our first delegation, Maddie from Food Cycle Science. I believe Maddie is actually joining us online. Are you there, Maddie? I see you.
Hi, yes, I'm there. Sorry, my camera is connected to not my computer camera, but that's okay.
That's okay. We can see you now and we can hear you, which is great. Just a reminder that we have 5 minutes for a presentation, and after that, committee will have an opportunity to ask you some questions. Then you'll note later on in today's agenda that we will have the item up for further discussion at that point.
Great.
Okay, so with that, I will turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So good morning, Finance Committee members and staff. Thank you for having me. My name is Maddie Frum. I am the Municipal Partnerships Representative at Food Cycle Science, and I'm here today to discuss a food waste program for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. Now, before I dive into my presentation, I do want to address that I'm aware your community's waste is managed by the District of Muskoka and that there is a green bin program with that, which is fantastic. The program I am talking about today would complement this organics program, making or taking away the ick factor of food waste. Next slide, please. So Food Cycle Science is a Canadian company. We're based out of Ottawa, and we're 100% focused on food waste diversion solutions. And we do that by using our innovative technology called the Food Cycler. So our in-home food waste recycler is sold direct to consumers, to businesses and municipalities like yours through our Food Cycler Municipal Solutions division. And that's the area that I'll be focusing on today. So we have over 175 municipal partners across Canada, and nearby to you, we have pilot programs in Gravenhurst, Georgian Bay, Parry Sound, and Seguin. Next slide, please. So food waste ending up in the landfill is a major problem because it produces methane, a harmful greenhouse gas. Now, we've decided or proposed a new way to manage this problem. So essentially, we've built a small kitchen appliance. It's about the same size as an air fryer. It's very easy and straightforward to use. You put your food waste into the machine, you push a button, and then in a matter of hours, you're left with a dry, sterile, odorless, and nutrient-rich soil amendment. It can handle all types of food waste, and that includes meat, fish, dairy, and most bones and pits. The machine can be used anywhere with a plug, so most people will keep it in their kitchen for convenience, but you could put it in a basement or a heated garage if you had one. And then each cycle takes about 4 to 8 hours to complete, so an overnight cycle, and uses about 1 kilowatt hour of power, which would cost about 11 cents per cycle. It also comes with a refillable carbon filter to eliminate smells that occur during the process, but you don't need to maintain that carbon filter for the machine to work. And then the resulting soil amendment is just your food waste that's been reduced in volume by up to 90%. And that leaves it as a beneficial soil amendment. So it can go into the garden like a fertilizer, or in your community, residents could put it into the green bin. Next slide, please. So the results from our pilot projects have been overwhelmingly positive. We're able to achieve a 98%.
Sorry, Maddie, just give us 1 moment. You were doing well, but we just lost you, your audio somehow.
Oh, that's okay. Can you
It's just that it's very low, so we're just seeing if it's on our end or on your end.
Okay. Let me know I've just increased my audio.
Just give us one moment. We could hear you up until this slide.
Oh, strange. Sorry about that. I
Don't
can
know if,
switch audio to what my video is coming off of isn't the owl.
So yeah, Maddie, I don't know what has happened here. We don't believe it's from our end. I don't know if something might have changed from your end because,
I'll try
oh, there
switch.
you are.
Okay.
There you are.
Sorry about that. That's so strange.
That is
Um,
strange. That's okay. That's fine. So, continue on.
Okay, thank you. So the results from our pilot projects have been overwhelmingly positive. So here's a snapshot. We have a 98% participation rate, a user experience rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars, meaning people just find the product easy to use. And we're seeing a significant amount of net new waste diversion. So about 300 kilograms per household per year is being diverted. Next slide, please. So here's how our pilot projects work. It's a 12-week pilot phase to test the solution in your community. Residents would purchase a food cycler at a subsidized rate from the municipality. They use their unit and they track the number of cycles that they run each week. At the end, residents keep their food cycler and we ask that they complete a brief survey so we can evaluate the program's success. We then present all of those results back to you in a final report or feasibility study. Additionally, we would also discuss presenting a plan for expanding the program in your community, but we would work with staff to make sure that everything is aligned. Next slide, please. So here is a look at how our pricing works. So as I mentioned, this is a subsidy model where Food Cycle Science reduces the retail price by 50%. We then ask that the municipality subsidize the cost by a minimum of $100, and then residents are left paying the remaining amount. And they would pick which food cycler model, and it's theirs to keep at the end of the pilot program. Next slide, please. So here are some pilot size recommendations. For your community for an initial pilot, I would recommend a size somewhere between 100 to 150 households. I do want to note that it would vary depending on what season the program is launched, just because your community is so seasonal with cottagers. So since the municipal subsidy is a minimum of $100 per household, a pilot size of, let's say, 150 households would be an investment of $15,000 plus shipping and taxes. But we, again, would work with staff to make sure that the scope is aligned with your budgets and your needs. Next slide, please. So lastly, I just want to highlight some reasons that may resonate with you as you consider whether you should pilot with us. The first is that you have the opportunity to trial this technology at well below market rates. The next is you're going to be able to see immediate and impactful benefits like increased green bin participation, leading to reduced greenhouse gas emissions. But overall, you're able to provide your residents with a low cost municipal service while being a steward for the environment. Next slide, please. So thank you again, and I welcome the Township of Muskoka Lakes as a partner in the fight against food waste. Today, all I ask is you accept my presentation as information, and should there be interest in partnering with us, that you refer to staff for a report. And I am prepared to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. Committee, do we have any questions? Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I'm interested in understanding how you reduce greenhouse gases. I would think the deterioration of the food waste to soil probably creates greenhouse gases, but which would happen whether it's done in the machine or in a landfill site? Where else do they come from?
Thank you so much for the question. So through you, Chair. When food waste ends up in the landfill, it produces a greenhouse gas methane, which is really harmful for the environment. So when you compost, you're not producing that methane, and that's where the reduction in greenhouse gases comes from. I'll also note that we've done life cycle analysis testing on the food cycler, and while there are upfront emissions produced from manufacturing and shipping, these are all it's all get taken care of by the greenhouse gases that are avoided when you use the food cycler. So overall, it's actually a net negative carbon solution, which is really exciting. And I can share data with you to back that up. But you can feel good about using it and avoiding some greenhouse gases.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any other questions? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at your Eco 3 is so much money. How many liters does that hold compared to the 5?
Thank you for the question. So the Eco 3 holds 3.5 liters of food waste, and then the Eco 5 holds 5 liters of food waste. The difference between the two machines is just capacity. So they have the same grinding technology, and they're able to handle the same amount or same types of food waste. It really just depends on how big your family is or how much food waste you produce, which unit you would want to pick at the end.
Okay, Councillor
I have a
Edwards.
few supplementaries. Are the machines lifetime warranty?
Thank you for the question. So the machines in our programs have a 3-year warranty. There is an option to extend that warranty for additional cost, and the resident can pay for that if they want. But I'll also add that the lifetime of the food cycler is about 7 to 10 years, but we've built them in a modular way. So if there is a part that fails, we're able to replace and fix that part instead of, sending the entire thing to an e-waste recycler.
Supplementary?
Okay, Councillor Edwards, then Councillor Zavitz, then Councillor Roberts.
Yeah. That's Canadian dollars, I take it.
Yes, that's correct.
And the last question is how much are the filters and that for it? Because I know some of the machines take filters and other pads, so.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So through our municipal program, we offer residents a specific portal for them, and they'll be able to get the accessories at a reduced cost. So on that site, one package of the filter is about $20. It'll last for about 3 to 4 months, depending on usage and, believe it or not, the amount of smelly foods that have gone into it. So it could last up to 6 months. But then there is the option to buy a 4-pack of carbon, and that is still at a reduced rate, and it would be cheaper to do that than buy the one $20 pack. But that's the reduced rate we offer our municipal residents.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Zavitz and then Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you. So Maddie, given that the direction for waste management comes from the district, have you, or could you share with us your experience in Bracebridge with the mothership? I mean, I would have thought that we would be getting direction possibly or recommendations from them versus a private vendor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. So we have talked with the district. The note that the direction they want to go is to focus on getting the green bin program to work and get that up and running, which is fair. But we've seen in many communities that use green bin, it's a challenge to do this, and the food cycler really just helps make it easier for some people who find it difficult. So but then we have worked with Gravenhurst, and they've I think they're in the middle of their program right now, and it was just their choice to do this program without. So there's not necessarily district like direction on it. There is approval, I would say, but yeah,
Okay.
they've just decided to run it at their discretion.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Would you remind me again, the time to process the organic waste or the waste down to the end product?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. So through you, Madam Chair, it is an overnight cycle. So the max it would take is about 8 hours. It depends on how much food waste was in there to begin with. If you have less in there, it's not going to take the full 8 hours, but if it's a full bucket, it'll be about 8 hours.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, as noted, we will be talking about this a little bit further on in the day, and we really appreciate you coming today to share your product with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Okay, moving on to item 5B. Welcome to the podium, Rebecca, from the West Muskoka Food Bank.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay,
No?
perfect. So. Right. Amazing. So, good morning, Mayor Kelly and council members. Thank you once again for your continued support of the West Muskoka Food Bank and for the generous provision of the space we currently use. Your ongoing partnership enables us to serve many in the community, and we're deeply grateful for this excellent relationship that we share. I just want to let you know that I do have some supporters here today. So I have some volunteers and some board members, as well as the Simcoe Muskoka Health Unit. Thank you. It's a long name and I always forget it. So, and they're just here in support of this request today. So I'm here today to provide you with a brief update and a request for support related to infrastructure resiliency, something that has become increasingly urgent in the face of extreme weather events. As you'll recall, the spring ice storm earlier this year left our building without power for over 10 days. During that time, we were forced to close our doors with no heat and no hydro. It was simply unsafe for our volunteers, many of whom are retired, to continue their service. And although we were fortunate to lose only a small amount of food due to some low stock at the time, that was just luck. So had the ice storm occurred during a typical week, we could have lost up to $3,000 of meat alone, not to mention milk, eggs, or other perishable products. So to help mitigate this risk in the future and ensure uninterrupted service to the community, we have obtained permission from the township staff to install a generator. They have also offered for us to use a closely located propane tank. We received a quote for the generator and installation, which is $21,421. I'm pleased to share that we've already secured a $15,000 grant from the Muskoka Community Foundation through the Feed Muskoka Fund, made possible by both community contributions and a very generous private donor. This grant will go towards the cost of the generator itself. So I've come before you today to respectfully request that the township fund the remaining amount for the generator, which would be approximately $6,421, as well as the associated cost for operation and maintenance moving forward. As the building is owned, or township owned and operated, the generator would remain a permanent asset for municipal use. There is no obligation to use the company that provided the quote, as this was simply context for the financial purposes of presenting this to you today. Installing a generator is not just a preventative measure, it's an essential step in building a resilient support system for the most vulnerable in our community. It will ensure our ability to protect food, maintain basic services, and keep everyone involved safe. Once again, thank you for your past and ongoing support. With your help, we can ensure that the West Muskoka Food Bank remains reliable, year-round source of nourishment and care for our community, regardless of weather events or other challenges that may arise. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Committee, do we have any questions? Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you, and thanks, Rebecca, to you and all your volunteer friends. They're our friends too, an amazing job you guys do. Yeah, having experience with generators, I guess my only thought would be, or question to you would be, is that an all-in price? In that, I know that when you get a generator, you certainly need to upgrade the electrical in the building, as we've done in a couple of places, and that adds quite a considerable expense. So I just wondered if that's sort of an all-in, obviously you've thought about it, just a question on that.
Okay,
So my understanding is that it is an all-in price, so it is for installation and for the cost of that. As to the current electrical, I would have to defer that question to Dawn, who's here to support me with technical questions that you might ask, since I don't know anything about generators.
perhaps given this, our staff actually take care of the building, we can ask that question of them afterwards as well. So we understand.
Sorry.
Okay. I wouldn't know that either. So
I just know I need one.
none of us would. You would just say yes. Okay. Or that's that approach too. Are there any other questions? Councillor Kent.
Just because I didn't hear it properly, what is the total cost of this generator? And is it, I assume this is an automatic generated that's electric, not a gas powered one?
You know, it's just.
Meaning it'll pop on when the power
Yes,
goes out
it
rather than
absolutely-
you having to turn it on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. It comes on automatically. That was one of the requirements that we asked for. It's a storm and nobody can get there to turn it on, then it's not really useful anymore,
understand,
right?
yeah.
So it would kind of defeat the purpose.
What was the total cost?
The total cost is Sorry, it's on the second page. It is $21,421.
Thank you.
Okay, committee, are there any other questions? Councillor Edwards?
Yes, thank you. Approximately how many people a year using the food bank?
That is a good question. I don't know stats off the top of my head, but what I can tell you is we've had 92 new households since the start of the year. So that's just new households. We service anywhere from 35 households to 56 is the most we've done this year in a week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does that help? Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your delegation today, and staff will follow up with you after. I mean, you're welcome to stay for the entire meeting if you'd like, but if you would prefer, you can have staff will follow up with you and let you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5C, Ms. Masters. Mhm.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Donna Masters. I live at 1032 Kidd Street. I'm just here because I desperately need a street light at the end of our street on Kidd Street. It's lit up like a Christmas tree at the bottom of the street, but the top of the street is blacker than black. It's like driving when there's a snowstorm and there's a white sheet of paper in your face. If you're going up that road with no lights, you end up in the ditch, which I have many times because my light kicked out. So we're all of us down there. We have 3 full-time house people and we have a cottager up there now. I've had a moose at my house since I got home from Florida. I've had a fisher at my house. I've had a bear at my house. I've had a mangy fox at my house. So I don't want to walk up that road in the dark to find one of them coming at me. That's all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Well, we will be having a further discussion that's similar to the other one. So if there's a question, then we'll do questions now, but I'm not seeing any. So
Perfect.
similar to the last one, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for bringing this forward today. Thanks for coming in and joining us in the chamber. And thank you very much. Moving on now to item 5D, Mr. Gardner.
Still on? Great.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for seeing me. I really appreciate this process and the opportunity to be heard. I think this is a pretty important thing to talk about, and I'm going to start with a joke. Does anybody here know what the closest thing to divorce is? Marriage. So in that context, in that vein, the closest thing to willful pollution on our lakes is throwing plastic bags as close as they can possibly get to our waterways. And that's what these are. So that's what happens on our docks multiple times a year in the thousands and thousands and thousands. It's been going on for, I think, a decade. I don't know, but many, many years. And I'm getting exhausted by having the task of bringing those up from my dock every single time. So that's what this presentation is about. It used to be 1, now it's 4. Every year, thousands and thousands. And I'm really interested in what's stopping more from happening, because the marketing strategy is brilliant, and we'll get to that in a minute. So my objective here is to create awareness. I'm not an activist. I'm not going to make this my mission. You will never hear me talk about this again. I will never come before you again because I'm busy. And this is your job. If this doesn't create action, then I think you're going to see a snowball effect. Because right now, what we're seeing is that anyone at any time can throw anything on anyone's dock. That's just okay. Sometimes there's golf balls, sometimes there's pens, there's multiple promotional materials in these plastic bags. And I think that we all agree that the most important, most valuable thing that we have here in our community is our waterways. And if anyone disagrees, have a look at the property values on our waterways. They are the most expensive properties for a reason, and that is a major economical driver here. Shouldn't we protect that? So you are elected officials. We all voted for you. This is your duty to protect our waterways, especially in this context. You have a job to do about this. So I'm going to share with you my story. I've spent years of picking these up. I've called these companies and asked them to stop, and it's taken years, and some have and some haven't. They've all been cordial. They're nice people. They're not terrible people. But clearly there is no system. Either you call them and plead with them, and maybe they get it right, or they probably won't, and they just canvass the area. There's no opt-out. Delivered to your dock, whether you like it or not. So I put this out to social media with my name on it. I don't know that that was the smartest thing to do, but I did it. And I'm here with you today, and I hope that you see the courage in stepping forward and putting myself in the line of traffic to raise this issue. And what I saw was a wildfire catch-on of comments, over 300 comments in 24 hours before I took it down, because it did what it needed to do. It showed me that there is a divide here, but there's serious passion, and those are your voters with that passion. And the comments were, you know, everything from "I should shut up, I sound like a douche," and "I live on a lake, so I should just be happy and grateful. By the way, I have 66 feet of lakefront in Bala Bay. I pay $4,100 a year in taxes, and I'm on town water and sewer. Maybe I'm not a big guy here, but I am a local resident, and I own multiple properties, but only one on the lake, and I care deeply about it, and I ate a lot of peanut butter for that property." So one of the best questions I saw is just, how is this allowed? How is it okay? And that's a great question. And one given here in that experiment is that I'm not a random guy with an incohesive or crazy opinion that's not shared by a lot of people. I'm not an individual, and we should not look at this as an individual who hates picking up a plastic bag on their dock 4, 5, 6 times a year. We are talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of plastic bags right on the edge of our waterway every year. Just like saving money over time, it adds up. So again, it used to be one company, now it's 4. And what's clear right now, again, and really think about this, anyone at any time can put anything on any dock. Your voters. So let's level with this. This is the brilliance of this marketing strategy. You don't have to create a big, expensive mailing list and go through proper channels. You don't have to spend time on social media and build an audience, which takes years. I know that firsthand. You just have to pay somebody a summer job, fill up a boat, and canvass the perimeter to the most affluent, arguably, audience in all of Canada. It's genius. It's genius. And it's easy.
So Mr. Gardner, just if you don't mind, kind of wind.
Yep, I'm going to wrap this up real quick. Let's understand this, okay? At 23 years old, I started a magazine. Now we have ChatGPT and AI. I could do this tomorrow. Right to your dock, whether you like it or not. The Muskoka Minute. Every single week. If I'm thinking it, other people are thinking it. This is about to become a runaway train. Do we care about our waterways? Is it okay to throw plastic bags on docks? It is ridiculous to think that they're batting 1,000, that these don't end up in the lake in sheer volume. I want to just address the scenic corridor real quick. We've decided that that is special, that that is important. If we're going to throw this marketing material on people's docks, let's open that up. Let's put billboards up, and let's call it in the name of supporting local business. Because I have to say that if the argument is that this is anti-local business, that's wrong. This is not an attack. This idea that because somebody couldn't throw their materials on a dock, that would take down a business and its advertisers is ridiculous, or it's just not a viable business model. So the last thing that I'm going to say here is that a few councillors that I bounced this off of have given me the notion that maybe this isn't your jurisdiction. This is Coast Guard, this is waterways or whatever. And to that I say, Well, guess what? We voted for you. You're our voice. You're our advocates. You have those channels to advocate for us on those things. If you put your head in the sand and say it's not our jurisdiction, I question why you're here. I question what your job is to your voters. This is serious. Plastic in waterways at the very edge should not be something that has to happen. So I would like you, when you guys talk about this, to put your hand up if any one of you say, you know what, I'm all for this. Yeah, we should do this. This should continue. Because right now it's open season and I have a great business model and idea. So I will not be romantic about the way it should be, but I will be very real about the way it is. And other entrepreneurs out there will be that way.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Committee, obviously we'll be talking about this after. Questions. Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you, and through you to Mr. Gardner. I wonder if you could just very briefly recount your experience with these companies when you contact them.
Sure.
I presume, based on previous discussions, you've contacted them in regards to, please don't put this on my dock anymore, and that's it. It's not, why are you doing it? It's not the global question that you've asked. It's a more specific question of
Great question.
your own dock.
Yeah, and you know, what I said to them in the very early going is, listen, I'm getting frustrated. It should be really easy for me to just call you and you have a system to say, okay, we'll stop doing that to you and opt out, right? These are two different issues. There's the issue of the single individual who can't opt out, and then there's the environmental issue. So let's break those two pieces apart. And they've been kind, they've been courteous, they've never disagreed with me, and they wanted to stop it happening, but we're talking about summer students, okay? So the big solution here was to put a no soliciting sign on my dock. Does everyone want to see no soliciting signs all over the docks in Muskoka? We have a scenic corridor. We decided that scenery matters. I don't want that on my dock, and I shouldn't have to. So that is about the robustness of the solution, and that's concerning to me.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, committee? No, I'm not seeing any. Thank you.
I look forward to sending you the Muskoka Minute or not having to pick things up on my dock anymore.
No, I'm sure we'll have a good discussion on this afterwards. And as noted, staff will follow up with any next steps.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me. I appreciate this process.
Problem. Would you like your magazines back?
No, those are yours.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, we are going to now move on to item 8A, which is Director Donaldson. Welcome.
Morning, Chair. Good morning, Committee. So I'm here today to speak to the staff report before you, which outlines the township's approach to addressing a projected operating deficit for the 25 fiscal year. So we touched on this a bit when the Q1 financial update was presented. We're facing what's projected to be an estimated shortfall between 500,000 and 1.5 million this year, and that was driven by really two unanticipated developments: severe weather exceeding our winter control budget and the impacts of the ice storm, and a delay in the rollout of our short-term rental licensing portal, which has affected our revenue collection for the current year. So the winter season brought two major snowfalls, one of them occurring in the current fiscal year in 2025. And of course, everybody knows about the ice storm in March, which led to significant costs related to cleanup and response. The snow clearing and roof maintenance alone have pushed our winter control budget over this year. And depending on how snow goes later this year, we could be between $150,000 and $300,000 over budget on winter control. And of course, the ice storm expenses to date have accumulated to $945,000. So that's where we're sitting now. The amount of provincial funding that we'll get is not currently known, but we're estimating that we'll probably be on the hook for between $100,000 and $500,000 of that cost, depending on our submission and based on the cost sharing model that the province has put out into the program. So with respect to short-term rentals, we had $525,000 worth of revenue in our budget this year, but due to vendor delays on the application portal, revenue can only be recognized when a license is issued, and therefore the delays and combined with the 20% discount that council has approved for the first 60 days, we're projecting a shortfall on short-term rentals between $250,000 and $350,000. In addition, council approved a $1.56 million capital project on the Gross Road culvert in the north part of the township this year. And our capital reserves have been trending downward since 2021 due to increased capital demand and extraordinary cost increases experienced during the pandemic. And staff reviewed the operating budget, but we weren't really able to find any meaningful savings without compromising service levels on the operating side. So at this time, staff recommend that we look at our capital projects for the current year and identify any that can be scaled back, canceled, or deferred for the purpose of reallocating funds that were included in the operating budget to address the shortfall on our operating side rather than funding those capital amounts. And we think this approach preserves our core services and avoids reducing our reserve funds even further than they would otherwise be. In the report, we also looked at a couple of alternatives. Of course, status quo would just be to continue to draw our reserves down, but we're recommending not to take that approach unless that is the absolute last resort. We could also look at our fees and charges bylaw, which is due for updating for January 1, 2026. We could accelerate that, perhaps bring some fee increases into the current year. We could also look at our community center fee waiver policy and ensure if fee exemptions are limited to groups that are providing broad community benefit. And of course, council's also approved our land disposition policy a couple of months ago. Those probably would not generate much in the way of proceeds for 2025, but it would certainly get us going if we were to fast track identification and sale of property. So I just want to stress for council or committee that this is a temporary issue. This is not a structural budget issue. We're just dealing with some extraordinary events in the current year, and we're trying to take a pragmatic and responsible solution to stabilize the financial position in the current year. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Okay, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Zavitz. Questions now, then I'll read a resolution.
Yes.
We actually have a resolution, yes.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. And I read in the report that the shortfall would, if I wrote it down, I read it was going to be between 500,000 and 1.5 million. Is that correct?
That's a projection. I've intentionally left it as a very broad range because we don't know what we're going to get for provincial funding on the ice storm, but that would be a preliminary estimate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you to Mark. I'm disappointed, where we are, but of course, who isn't? And of course, we're the subject of, I guess, of the environment and some other things. Some of it's of our own making with the short-term rental piece, but on a bigger scale, I guess I would ask the question of you, sir. The crossover between, personally, in my own personal life, the crossover between capital and how I save for the future versus operating where I'm working on now, here and now. And I would draw an analogy to, say, the fire truck, which I don't know whether we've ordered it or not, but that's $700,000. I mean, it seems, and I guess I would ask that question. Can we, you use the word extraordinary, could we look at this as a one-time where we cross over from reserves to operating and look at that and pull something out, and all of a sudden there's $700,000 where or I think it's almost $1 million if you look at other things in the fire. I'm not trying to take out the fire budget, but that's real live cash as I understand it. So my question to you is, can we entertain that as a group?
Okay, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. So that is the recommendation of staff, that we look at the capital budget, cancel, defer, or scale back approved projects, and divert that money to fund the operating shortfall.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Bosemworth?
Thank you. It seems to me that unless we find something to cancel, this is just deferring the problem. I mean, the problem is not going to go away. And we're just deferring things unless we cancel something. Is that correct?
Okay.
So through you, Chair. So I think that's a fairly accurate statement. I think that, you know, if a road, I'll just pick on a road, for example, if a road needs to be, or a fire truck, if it needs to be replaced, it needs to be replaced. So if we don't do it this year, we're going to have to do it next year. But I think what we're trying to do is just build in some resiliency in the current year and then figure out how we'll deal with these things in 2026. It's not optimal. It's certainly not my preference, and it wouldn't have been something that I would have anticipated happening when we did the 25 budget. But because of extraordinary items, you know, and circumstances beyond our control, we are looking at a shortfall. So just being creative on how we might be able to address those problems.
And I guess the intention of today is to bring this forward to our attention so that we're all aware of what you're experiencing and trying to navigate. Okay, thank you. Councillor Bosemarth and then Councillor Kent. You had a supplemental?
Yeah, supplemental, just so I fully understand. So this is so that we're not reducing our overall reserves. It hasn't to do anything with the either, you know, driving the deficit on the operating side. Is that fair?
Okay.
So through you, Chair. So the municipal act requires that we have to balance every year. So if we had a shortfall at the end of the year and we didn't have any offsets, we would have to draw from reserves. As I've presented to this committee previously, we're probably looking at our reserves being at 0 or close to nil, you know, 2027, 2028. I don't want that to accelerate. So that's why I'm bringing forward an opportunity where we might look at alternatives to using our reserves to fund this shortfall because of these extraordinary events.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent?
I was just gonna make a comment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, when I look back
Question.
of my things on.
No, just it's questions right now because then I
It's
can read the
questions. When I
resolution.
look back, am I right that we've had a extraordinary event in each of the last, the culvert this year, including the ice storm, but I'm just, I meant extraordinary capital event. At the culvert, $1.5 million, that's a lot of money. And then the wall, wasn't that an extraordinary event like 2 years ago? So, I mean, I don't know I think we should probably be assuming that we're gonna have an extraordinary event every year, because I don't think it's reasonable to be budgeting to zero without a contingency of 15% or 10% for these non-extraordinary, extraordinary events, as you call them. And I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were, because I see the ice storm. Yes, that's an extraordinary event, although with climate change, who knows? But those two others are capital extraordinary events. And
Mr.
Through you, Chair,
Yeah.
I would agree. We need to start building building these contingencies in.
Yeah.
As we get better information on the condition, we're doing our building and condition assessments this year. We're doing our road needs study. So we get better information on our assets. Hopefully that will give us better line of sight, and we'll be able to see around corners before they happen. But we are seeing it more and more. So I think we do need to start thinking
I'm not even
about
sure
that.
better budgeting is gonna make you have better eyesight. These are things you can't anticipate.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is,
Yeah.
why don't I read the resolution, and that way, if anybody else has questions or comments, then we can get into the discussion. So just any other questions? Seeing none, let me read this resolution. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Whereas unplanned severe weather events and a delay in the rollout of the application process for short-term rental licensing, which were not contemplated in the 2025 budget assumptions, have created a high likelihood of an operating deficit for the current fiscal year. And whereas staff consider it prudent financial management to identify opportunities to offset this projected deficit. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to prepare and return to committee with a list of capital projects that may be scaled back, canceled, and or deferred in 2025 for the purpose of identifying potential cost savings that could be reallocated to address the forecasted operating deficit. Okay, Mayor Kelly, and then anybody else who wants to make a comment.
Thank you, and through you, just my comment is that I think this is an absolutely prudent and responsible next step. We've faced a couple of unforeseen setbacks, and I think in any other world, it would be the next step to go back and have a look at the rest of our planned expenditures for the rest of the year and see if there's room to prune. And so I think that's absolutely the right next step. In terms of building contingencies, I mean, we do build contingencies. That's what our reserves are, if you ask me. And maybe what we need to do is consider the age and condition and the recent experience with more catastrophic failure of some of our infrastructure is look at additional, building the reserves bigger and faster, more contribution to reserve. It's not novel. This isn't, we do this every day. I think we're running against a wall that says maybe we haven't had the kind of reinvestment in infrastructure over the last couple of decades that we should have, and it's hitting us now.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts and then Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Chair, and following up on the mayor's point, we do build a reserve, but from my knowledge, it's always been, we know we're going to have to put a roof on in 10 years in this building, so let's do that. I don't think we've ever, correct me if I'm wrong, ever thought about, we're getting these events, we should be putting a really rainy day reserve in place. So that's.
Is that what the intention of the tax stabilization reserve is, Director Donaldson?
So through your chair, the tax stabilization reserve would be for unforeseen events such as that. I think that definitely that would be one of the purposes for that. It would also be for, if you have changes in your tax base or your assessment, if there's revenue issues as well, it would also be used to address that. So you kind of need to see it from both sides, but yeah, that would be a prudent use for it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent?
I was just going to say, commenting on Mayor Kelly's comment, that I think that from my perspective, when we stick in an extra $1 million at the end of the budgeting process to add to our reserves, that's less palatable to me as a annual contingency. I'm looking at it, if you were marketing to the public, why your taxes are going up. Well, we've had these 2 major ice storms and this blah, blah, blah. So we're going to stick an extra $1.5 million into as a contingency, which we won't use if we don't have to. Do you know what I mean? Or we make a decision to put it into reserves anyway. So I don't know. I see that that's the difference only in you're going to stick it on at the end and add it to reserves, or you're going to make it part of the budget. So that's why I want to think about it that way.
Okay, Councillor Edwards?
Yes. Last budget, we raised taxes. It was $13 and some odd cents, I believe. The year before, we raised them $18 and some odd cents. Had we left it at the $18 and some odd cents we have reserves, we wouldn't have to cut back. We not. Like if I go in for a coffee and it's $3.50, and I go in next year, it's only $2.75. Wow. Then it's up to $4. Had we been bringing it up and keeping it the same, we would have reserves, would we not? And, as Councillor Roberts said, you save for rainy day, you need this, we've known we need a fire station in Manette for 15 years that I've been on council. We don't think we've been putting anything towards it. Should we be building our reserves so we can weather these storms?
Okay. Dr. Donaldson, do you have any comments or?
I would just agree with the councillor that if we had left a higher increase, then we would have had more revenue in the current year, and that would have perhaps alleviated some of the pressures. And in terms of, the infrastructure needs, there's a very long list of them. There's a lot of things we need in this municipality. So as I've said to this committee and council many times, I don't believe there's any risk of over contributing to reserves right now because of the needs of the municipality.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you, and through you to Mark. Hey, listen, I want you to be as agile as possible. You're doing a great job, and I feel so confident with you in your role, watching the money. We as a business group directing that. I guess my question for you on the report that you're suggesting to bring forward in this resolution, would you also consider, given that we essentially have no debt as a township, would you consider perhaps that's too big of an ask, but would you consider some applications of acquired debt to remodel some of this township?
Okay, thank you. I think.
Through you, Chair. So I think we'd have to look at that on a project by project basis. I think there's a traditional sense that using debt to fund renewal can be not necessarily advisable because we've had an asset, we know we've had it, conventional wisdom would say we should have been saving the entire life cycle of that asset so that when it gets to renewal, we've got the funds available. But that being said, depending on what the initiative was and how it suits the needs and our current financial situation, debt may be an option that we might have to look at in some cases. But to resurface a road, I probably would really caution committee to stay away from debt for those types of things.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz?
Supplemental. So, but I agree with you 100%. But given an item like short-term rental, which is an odd and perhaps extraordinary one-time event, a year from now, we could be sitting here and there could be 1.2 million, I don't know, whatever the take up is on short-term rental. If we were to augment just that one piece for the 500K somehow, it wouldn't hurt us quite so much. You wouldn't be thinking quite so large is kind of where I'm digging at. Is that fair?
Director Donaldson?
So through you, Chair. So I think if I understand your question, you're saying if we have a short term now, but we expect we're going to have a surplus, we could repay ourselves next year. Would we take debt on to just bridge finance basically that short term? I mean, if we knew that was going to happen, I mean, that would be an option for sure as well. We could bridge finance it if we knew that. But again, with the needs that we have, we probably could earmark that money for other purposes as well, in terms of it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, really.
Yeah. So committee, I've read the resolution. Not seeing any other hands at this point, so I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thank you very much, Director Donaldson.
Thank you,
Thank you
Kate.
very much for bringing that forward, keeping us as part of this discussion. Now moving on to Ms. Story. Welcome. 8B.
All right, thank you, Chair Mazan, and good morning, committee. My first report before you is regarding a license agreement application received from the property owners at 1052 Mackenzie Road, looking to permit and recognize the encroachment of a septic system and retaining wall located on a township road allowance. Staff have reviewed the application and are recommending approval subject to the conditions noted in the staff report. And with that said, I will turn it back to the chair.
So committee, there is a fairly lengthy resolution, so I'll ask, are there any questions at this point? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that license agreement application LA-03-25 Maloney be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, that a draft numbered reference plan of survey satisfactory to the township be prepared and provided to the clerk for review within 1 year of the date of this conditional approval. 2, that the township be in receipt of the following from the acting solicitor. A confirmation from a title search that the applicant is the owner of abutting land and that the encroachments are located on township land, and a draft license agreement to the satisfaction of the township. 3, that the applicants provide proof of liability insurance covering the encroachment in the minimum amount of $2 million with the township named as an additional insured. And 4, that the portion of deck encroaching onto the township's original road allowance be removed. And 5, payment of any applicable fees related to the preparation of the license agreement, including but not limited to the solicitor's time and disbursements, as well as confirmation applicable property taxes have been paid up to date. Are there any comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. I believe you have a couple more.
I do, yeah. Thank you, Chair. So the second report before you is regarding a sale of an original road allowance application received from an abutting property owner located at 1805 Peninsula Road, Unit 214. Staff have reviewed the application and are recommending approval subject to the conditions noted in the staff report. And with that said, I will turn it back to the chair.
Okay, committee, are there any questions? Councillor Burry, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you. Question, why would we ever sell a road allowance that abuts water?
Okay, thank you.
Dangerous precedent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. So as committee may be aware, the township's policy does not allow the sale of road allowances that lead to water. However, applications can be considered by council and staff should it be a road allowance that crosses a peninsula or crosses an island and touches water on both sides. So in this particular case, it is considered a road allowance that crosses a peninsula. So staff were able to accept an application. Staff reviewed the application, did not see any future municipal use with this original road allowance that leads to water, as well as the district municipality of Muskoka also had no concerns. So with that, that is why staff are recommending approval today.
Okay, we're still in question. So Councillor Roberts? No? Okay. Okay, comments afterwards. Question, Councillor Bosemore, did you have your hand up as well? Question?
Yes, I did. Do we know what additional building rights this will afford the owner? You know, how much frontage do they have today and how much difference will this make? Plus area.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, to Councillor Bosenworth. So should the entire 66 feet of the road allowance be merged with the applicant's existing property, it will enable them to perhaps have larger lot coverage and be able to construct more shoreline structures.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Councillor Edwards?
I'll save it for comments.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Councillor Nishikawa?
Sorry, my question would be through, I don't know who can answer this honestly, so, but I don't even know if I'm allowed to ask this question. I look at this type of application as a revenue builder. And I'm curious, is this a substantial, so I've looked at applications in the past where it's been, quite frankly, I brought in $30,000 to the township. So while we're having the conversation about bringing in money, I'm just curious if we're allowed, and not through staff, like through Chriselle, but I just wondered if finance wanted to comment on that, or should we be doing more of this sort of thing? And not the water thing.
So
And get a higher price.
is there, I'm trying to remind myself, the financial,
I can,
okay.
yeah. So great question. And I know you may like to know what a purchase price may be for the sale of these lands. It's difficult right now because we don't have a survey completed to tell us the exact square footage. But I did do an estimate. It's between, I would say, 15,500 square feet to 16,000 square feet. Road allowances are $1.50 a square foot. So that would put us around the $23,000 mark plus HST. There's the $1,000 application fee, survey costs the owner has to take on, as well as legal fees involved. With that said, as always, if this application is approved, we have to contact the owner on the other side to see if they want half. So that $23,000 mark may be split between two owners if they're interested.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
just an estimate.
Yep,
but-
thank you. Okay, so Councillor Zavitz, a question?
Question. Do we have any idea how many other properties like this we own in this township? Because I would hate
Okay.
to set a precedent here. And I think that while there's a wrinkle and we found a way that we could sell it,
Mhm.
I'm not so sure that that's
Okay.
where I'd be going. Thank you.
Thank you, Chriselle?
Yeah, so the township has tons of original road allowances that lead to water. But the kicker is we don't accept applications for the sales of original road allowances, but we'll accept them when they cross a peninsula with water on both sides. So that circumstance is why this application was able to be made today. We have seen these applications come forward. I believe I brought one forward last year, Skeleton Lake, similar scenario. So I mean, we have seen these come up in the past, but we don't see as much of them when they lead to water because of that restriction in our policy.
Okay, thank you.
Supplemental.
Supplemental?
Thank you. Through you. Were we to refuse this, would the applicant get their $1,000 back?
Thank you.
So if committee and council decides to deny this application today, they would be able to have half of their application fee be refunded. So the $500.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bosemar's question?
Yes, and thank you very much. Could you explain to me how we consider this a peninsula? I would have thought what we're trying to do by saying if it crosses a peninsula, if it's crossing a peninsula where the applicant owns property on both sides of the peninsula, that makes perfect sense to me. But this peninsula, I think it's probably 2 kilometers wide, maybe? I don't know. I know But it's a wide thing and it crosses probably numerous pieces of property. So just wondering how we classify that and when does it stop being a peninsula?
Yeah, so through you, to Councillor Bosenworth. So when these applications come in and before we accept them, because again, we may not be able to, we look at the whole picture. And in looking at this, the road allowance does not travel as far of a distance as some of the others, as well as it does have, it doesn't travel a far distance. So looking at that and the fact that it crosses a peninsula and has water on both sides, staff felt that we were able to accept this application and be able to qualify it.
Okay. Councillor Edwards, question?
Yes, through the chair. I'm looking at page 26. So Peninsula Road runs along there. So somebody could walk along that road in the future and be able to access the water, could they not?
Okay, thank you.
If we did not sell this. So that is a road going to water.
Okay, go.
Thank you, through you. So I'm just trying to picture it. So Peninsula Road comes up and this original road allowance, the traveled road then hangs a left and then continues. This original road allowance goes horizontally. So it touches the water. So the portion that is being applied for sale does not have the traveled road on it, but it does connect to the traveled road. However, that road allowance extends further beyond the traveled road and touches water on the other side.
And
Thank you.
so in other words, in the future, if we save this property, 20, 25 years from now, somebody could be walking along Peninsula Road and be able to walk down to the water, the same as a park. So I believe
Okay.
what Councillor Murray said.
CAO Pink would like to add comment, please.
Thank you. Through you, just to clarify for committee, as noted by the previous committee member, it is a large peninsula and there are road allowances in the area running north-south, east-west. And there is a road allowance known privately as Riverdale Road that does access this road allowance. However, there is a intervening portion that does not connect to Peninsula Road that is privately owned. So I do not believe this particular road allowance you could walk to from a public property or public street to access this unless you swam either side of the peninsula. So there is a portion when you enter onto Riverdale Road that is privately owned that does not do a full connection, is my understanding and has always been my understanding of this situation, just processing numerous right-of-way applications over the years before the Committee of Adjustment. So it would not be a full connection.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I still have a comment, but can you explain CEO Pink's comment there? When I look at the diagram, I see imaginary lines, copying from someone else, that goes right across the lake into another one. So on this property, what part of those is this road that we have here that's actually in place, owned by someone else? Is it a right of way at some point?
Do we want to put something on the screen? Sorry, that's what I'm asking. I'm giving the suggestion that perhaps we could put something up on the screen.
Yeah, maybe just to clarify. So the road allowances are township owned, but I believe Riverdale Road is a private road. So maybe that's what the confusion is.
So is it deeded then? Sorry, Madam Chair, and through you. So the part to the left of the box in red, or rectangle in red.
Yes.
So that is attaching to Riverdale Road, which the property owners along that road have deeded access to it. It's not a township, non-maintained property.
CAO Pink.
I think part of the confusion, or what would help, I'm not sure if we're able to bring it up on the screen, the key map that's attached to the agenda packages is zoomed in just on that small portion. If one were to zoom out on the GeoHub that I have on my screen, it might be a little easier to explain. Sorry to add any confusion, but yes, there are large portions of what's known as Riverdale Road that are on township owned road allowances. That's public property. Any member of the community can cross and travel on those lands. However, one needs to then connect to a municipal street, and off of Peninsula Road, the first, call it to 300 meters is privately owned. So one would not be able to get to that road allowance you see on that key map without a right of way over that first 200, 300 meters or crossing water on either side of the
This is
peninsula.
unique.
So I just wanted to clarify that the previous comments that this is part of a connected road network, there is a gap that is privately owned.
At the beginning.
And you would have
At
to
the
zoom
beginning.
out at the very beginning where Peninsula Road connects with Riverdale Road. It is privately owned. Again, that's always been my understanding. I don't have a title search in front of me to confirm that as of today, but that's always been my understanding. And again, the municipality has processed numerous right-of-way applications over that private gap over the years.
Okay. Thank you. Let me read the resolution, and if there's further comments or questions, we can have them at that point. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that original road allowance application ORA-02-25 O'Malley be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, a corresponding draft numbered reference plan of survey shall be prepared and provided to the clerk for review within 1 year of the date of the conditional approval. 2, that the township be in receipt of the following from the acting solicitor. Confirmation that public notice of the proposed disposition was published pursuant to Township Policy CLS-06. Confirmation from applicable agencies that they have no concerns with the proposed disposition, and a road closing bylaw, a declaration of surplus resolution, and any related necessary documentation to effect the disposition. 3, payment of any applicable fees for the land costs, solicitor's time, and disbursements, as well as confirmation applicable property taxes have been paid up to date. And 4, that the township forward correspondence to abutting landowners of the original road allowance to be closed. Roll number 4-12-27-10, requesting either a confirmation of participation in the transaction or a waiver of interest. Should the township not receive a response by the specified deadline, the failure to respond will be treated as a waiver of interest. So, are there any comments at this point?
If I may, Madam Chair, just sorry to almost a point of order. I'm going to recuse because this matter seems to hinge in part on the private portion of property at the beginning of Riverdale Road, and I have deeded rights over that land. So
Okay.
I will recuse and leave the room.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts, and then I think Councillor Edwards, and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Okay, I just wanted to preface my comment with just clarification. So through you, Madam Chair, the property in question is attached to township not maintained property. Not, I mean, clarify, I understand the first portion is deeded rights, but the portion of this property is attaching to township non-maintained property.
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. So the property is attached to a non-maintained township road.
Thank you. So my comment is that we've had a few discussions in the last couple of meetings or whatever about disposition of properties. And staff did a significant inventory of all our properties. And we had one come for Torrance a couple of weeks ago that was presented to us about maybe disposing of this property. I think we really, I propose that we postpone this one until we have a clear understanding of how we're going to handle many of these properties. Because this is clearly water access property that could be accessed by anyone that's on the township road, so or non-maintained property. So I will listen to my other peers before I decide, but I think we should deny until future.
Okay, thank you. I see our clerk would like to make a comment as well, for clarification.
Thank you. Through you, I just want to provide some clarification that this is an original original road allowance. So our acquisition and disposition of land policy applies to township property. So this wouldn't apply to that. This falls under our shore road and original shore road allowance closure policy, not our acquisition and disposition of land policy, because this is a road allowance, not a property, like not a piece of property.
Okay, thank you.
But it's still township property.
for clarification, it is, but it would not be something that we would look to examine as property that we'd be looking to potentially dispose of or anything like that through the acquisition and disposition of land property, because it's not a significant piece of property as a
Yes.
road allowance.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you. I think it was Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Yes, still looking at page 26, I'm confused. It says Peninsula Road and it's running up through there. And that now we say it's not Peninsula Road, it's Riverdale Road. But the thing is this, it's still access to water, and our policy is we don't sell to water. That one there, I could see if it was a small island, there was a road going through it, but not on mainland. I would not support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa?
Our staff have done an amazing job on this, and I believe that they've looked at every legal issue and all of the things that are involved with selling road allowances. I don't see this, and I will just say that I can right now think of 10 situations that are very, very similar to this, where right-of-ways get established and they're not on municipal, but the municipal is right next door. And I think we're creating a bigger issue. There are easements in place, and we need to understand the easements that these private property people have and things like that. And I don't think, I think staff have done a great job and we should support this application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I saw a hand over here. Councillor Bosemather-Bury, did you have your hand?
Thank you. Through you, I will recognize that staff have done a great job, but I have real difficulty selling any access to water on principle anywhere. I have a tough time with selling municipal assets unless there's really no use for them. And this particular application, I think, goes back to potentially the closing of the purchase and not having done all of the work associated with that.
Okay,
Um,
so just a point of that policy that's.
I'm having a tough time with this policy,
With the
period.
policy in behind it, but not
Yeah.
specific to the.
I would even re-raise the issue of policy, because I just don't think in this day and age we should. I can get my head around selling municipal assets if there's no need for them ever, but abutting on the water, which is a public resource and a finite resource, and frankly our biggest resource, I can't get my head around it for any reason. Maybe granting an easement to the O'Malleys, I can certainly have no problem with that. But selling, I can't get my head around that. Sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Kent?
I have two comments. I thought Councillor Nishikawa was going somewhere else with her comment when she said, I can think of at least 10 situations. Therefore, we need to go back and look at this more carefully, which is where I thought she was going to go, rather than say, I think we should approve it. I agree with Guy. I think we should be really careful of this. I also don't like anything to do with Riverdale Road, because I don't really know how anything else has been settled there. I think there's things that are still hanging out there we haven't resolved. And therefore I question the timing, and I think we should probably wait on that.
Councillor Bosemarth?
There also was an initiative that by some citizens who wanted to turn the private portion of Riverdale Road into a township maintained road, which of course then would remove the point that CEO Pink was making. But CEO Pink, a question to you: if somebody already has the right to cross Riverdale Road, then they would be able to have access to this piece of property. Is that correct?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For you. That is correct. And just to clarify again, my comments were certainly not meant to imply that this does not abut a road. It was simply to clarify the previous comments that there is a gap. So not to just make council or committee aware that one would not be able to travel from a publicly maintained road to this road allowance. But further to Councillor Burry's comments, as noted in the staff report in the alternative section, refusal of the application is in compliance with the policy as well. And certainly that is an alternative. And I've heard a few around the table who have concerns with selling the road allowance, and a refusal would be in compliance. That is an option available to you if you have a concern.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? So committee, I have read the resolution. I don't think you want me to read it again because it is lengthy, but it is to be approved with those following conditions. So I don't see any other hands up at this point. I will call the question. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, that is defeated. Thank you. And committee, I would like to allow our completion of these land agreements, and then we will take a break. So we will move now on to item 8D. Maybe we should wait actually though for Mayor Kelly. Just give us one. Okay, welcome back, Mayor Kelly. We are now moving on to 8D, and then we will take a break.
Okay, thank you, Chair Mazan. My last report before you is regarding a license agreement application that has been received from the property owner at 1045 Sutton Road, Unit 4, looking to permit and recognize a new driveway to be installed on a township road allowance. Staff have reviewed the application and are recommending approval subject to the conditions noted in the staff report. And with that said, I will turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Committee, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that license agreement application LA-02-25 Brown be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, that a draft numbered reference plan of survey satisfactory to the township, which includes the boundaries of the original road allowance from both access points and the location of the existing driveway, be provided to the clerk for review within 1 year of the date of this conditional approval. 2, that the township be in receipt of the following from the acting solicitor: confirmation from a title search that the applicant is the owner of the abutting land and the encroachments are located on township land, and a draft license agreement to the satisfaction of the township. 3, that the township's operational services department be authorized to approve the configuration and location of the new driveway on the original road allowance. 4, that the applicant provides proof of liability insurance covering the encroachment in the minimum amount of $2 million with the township named as additional insured. And 5, payment of any applicable fees related to the preparation of the license agreement, including but not limited to the solicitor's time and disbursements, as well as confirmation applicable property taxes have been paid up to date. So are there any questions or comments on this application? Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. It's for you. I guess maybe to Public Works or Operational Services, I suppose. So it's the third paragraph under the analysis portion, under license agreement. It says, once the boundaries of the original road allowance are confirmed, the Operational Services Department will identify a preferred route into the subject property. That's not referenced. That specific piece isn't referenced on the document, or is it? And I'm just not seeing it on the diagram.
If I may, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor Zabit. So we included that in there because right now the applicant comes to her property coming from the bottom of the original road allowance and crosses through private property. And ideally, she would like to come the other way. However, in speaking with Public Works, we would like sort of the boundaries of the original road allowance confirmed because she is addressed as coming up from the bottom. So ideally, they would like her to continue coming that way. And also because there may be part of the driveway already existing on the original road allowance, so it may be easier for her to construct a new one coming from the way she's coming in now. So we would like those boundaries of the road allowance confirmed to confirm what's on private lands right now, what's on the township's original road allowance right now. And then based on that, then Public Works can decide on their preferred route. And
thank you very much for that. Yes,
If I might, thank you. So that consideration, would that impact any other property owners abutting?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So right now, if she continues to come through the bottom, that would you know, that would only impact she's crossing through now, the properties that like it would correct an encroachment on private property now, and they would be happy about that. However, if she did come the other way, the driveway that would be constructed only has to be, I believe, 15 meters wide. So it would create a buffer between the other properties at the top of the road allowance. But from my understanding with this current property owner, she has had conversations with them to let them know it may be a possibility. But hopefully that gives some clarity.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa?
Thank you. I just want to give a bit of a history. These properties were all owned by one family, the Valley Garden Center, essentially. And it's actually family that are trying to solve as people are aging out and passing on, they're just trying to establish the right of ways that is not going to impact in the future family issues. So it's a very simple, easy thing. And I good for her to bring it forward, but it's really all about family.
Okay,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I've read the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Ms. Suri, for all of your hard work. It's very evident of the level of your knowledge of these properties. So thank you through the questions. With that, committee, let's take a 15-minute break. We will resume at 25 to 11. Okay, committee, we're going to get ourselves back to the table, please.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, committee, thank you. I think everybody's had a chance to get themselves back to the table here. Thank you very much. And I'd at this point like to welcome our fire chief to take us through item 9A. Thank you.
Good morning, committee. Before you, I believe, is a report for fire department titled Fire Department Response Time Goal. The genus of this report is that a recommendation was made respecting a response time goal in the fire master plan. This was included in the 2022 recommendations list, along with a recommendation to have annual reporting towards a goal. This document puts forward a proposal to look at a response time goal, which is a best practice NFPA 1720, and using the rural response time goal of 14 minutes. I now stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions, and then I can read a resolution. So Councillor Zavitz, Councillor Kent, and Councillor Nishikawa, was that your hand up or? Okay, 1, 2, 3. You can change your mind, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, Chair. To the chief, is this your 14-minute preference, or, I mean, this is in your term here, and obviously in the report, which I've read, is 14 minutes viable 80% of the time in Ryan Morrell's mind?
Okay. Chief Morrell?
Through you to committee, the response time goal is the best practice as recommended by 1720. In my opinion, it's better to have a goal and try to attain it and to reflect that to committee. We did internally, staff had a lot of discussion about should we set the goal or should we just bring response times to council? We thought it would be best to bring both in the same document and then tell council why we were reporting on it on a regular basis to kind of give it more importance. But we thought it was also important to mention this is a best practice that you'll hear about if you research response times for fire departments.
So it's aspirational by nature.
It's aspirational, absolutely.
Okay. Councillor Kent, Councillor Nishikawa, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. My read of it was that we've never achieved that aspirational goal. And I question setting a target that's so far, and I mean, I don't remember on all these rural properties we've looked at in planning, there's always it's way more than 14 minutes. So I was just wondering why we would set it I realize it's aspirational, but still set a goal that we're nowhere near achieving, and it's probably not, I mean, I don't know anything about this, so it didn't look like it's achievable in any reasonable period of time unless we change a lot of things.
Okay.
Yep. Through you
Chief
to
Morrell.
committee, we looked at two elements to this, setting the goal and then measuring how we're doing towards that goal is one of the many, if you look on page, I want to say it's on page 3 of 4, you'll see in there how we're looking at measuring it. And the second measurement is percentage of all the calls that are meeting that goal. I think that we would like to see that grow over time and to have a goal that is not too lofty. But I do agree with committee that we probably have never met that goal in this marketplace. But you could have a bunch of calls that occur nearby a fire station and all of a sudden you're meeting that goal. It's a cart before the horse kind of problem. Do you set a goal and then measure it, or do you just measure and never have a goal to hit? I guess that's the question before committee.
Okay, just one follow-up.
Councillor
I
Kent.
would have thought there's something to be said for, I know from running call centers. Okay, you have how many phone calls can be answered a certain date? You put in place a 3-year plan that says we're going to be here. So you strive towards that goal, then here, rather than setting a standard that you're not meeting. That way you can achieve your objective each year and then, or every couple of years, and then get to the final place. Just a food for thought.
Okay. So questions still. I think it was Councillor Nishikawa, then Councillor Roberts.
Through you to the chief, I'm more concerned about what information do we get from the rail, from CN, for instance. I have experienced over the last couple of weeks one situation was 13 minutes. The other one was 11. And one of them was super long. And the other one really concerned me how long it was and at the speed that it was going. So I recognize, and maybe others aren't aware of this, but we have had derailments in Torrance. We've had lots of situations in Torrance about the rail. And it really concerns me because on paper, it doesn't show how people can react or anything, like honestly, and there just seems to be, like, I don't know what's going on with CN and CP in general, the management, but it concerns me that these trains are getting much longer and the safety of the community is not being considered.
So before us is maybe I will move to reading the question in a minute, just because I want to make sure that we're talking about setting a goal for a response time. But I do think that, I just want to make sure that 11 minutes and 13 minutes time was the length of the train going over, like through the town. It's
Yeah.
not the response of the fire.
No,
It's okay.
that's my
All right, just
point,
wanted to
is
be questioned.
this is about response from the
Yeah.
fire department about these time lengths of time and whether communication happens with those carriers.
So let's talk about the train for a moment.
Sure.
And then Councillor Roberts, what I think I might do is I'll read the resolution, then I'm going to let you have your question or comment, and then Councillor Zavitz. Okay.
Through you to committee. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. Some of it does relate to response time goals. If you didn't have a mechanism to come back to council to report on where the times were coming from, then I could absolutely see the linkage there where we're not communicating with CP and CN. We are communicating with CP and CN about delays when we are noticing them. But obviously, if we're reporting it more often and we see a trend where, let's say it's a Torrance area call volume and we're seeing a longer response time, and we can attribute it to the fact that they are actually closing off that railway, then we'll have some more conversations with them about what their efforts are to try to free up that road network. Secondly, we do get a manifest sent to us 6 months after the train has passed. I know that's not great, but at least it tells us what we can expect is traveling on those trains through our area. For security reasons, they often don't let that manifest slip early, for obvious reasons, because there could be things on the train they do not want anybody to know is on there. But when we've looked at it, a lot of the goods that are on there, we're well prepared for, and we have a plan if a derailment should occur. But yes, we are noticing some of those trends that you're talking about delays and about repairs that they're making to the rail network in that area. I will say they are doing a better job of updating us, and we've re-educated our teams about what that looks like. So you may hear on our radio chatter, delayed by train, that's to set a benchmark. So we look at that incident later and we flag it so that we can do a follow-up.
Okay.
So thank you for the question. Hopefully I answered most of your question.
Okay. Councillor Roberts, is it a question? And then I can read the resolution, or do you want me to?
Read the resolution,
Okay.
please.
Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that committee recommend council adopt the 14-minute rural fire response time achieved 80% of the time as a performance goal aligned with NFPA 1720 standards. And that bylaw 2016-125 to establish and regulate a fire department to be amended to include this goal. And that the fire chief be directed to track response time performance annually and report results to council beginning in 2026. So, Councillor Roberts and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, and thank you for reading the resolution. I did have a question that was setting up for my comment. So I'll just get into the meat of the whole thing here type of thing. I applaud that we need to set an objective. Not having one, we should set something, because how can you ever have a target? I think that the 14 minutes is for us, from what I've read, won't be achievable for a few years until you have time. So I think in your future report or something like that, you come back and you recognize that the standard is 14 minutes. But given our ABCD,
we're going to, but with continuous improvement, we're going to set it at an achievable for this year. And then next year, reevaluate it based on your findings on trying to achieve that smaller number. And within 5 years, perhaps say, hey, we'll never hit 14 minutes. That's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you. And through you to the chief. So I'm interested in the CN discussion as it passes through Torrance, at least 4 times, right? So I guess my question, and I've always thought this, so I would ask you, when there's a train and so therefore nobody can come to us from the Ballard direction, I've always sort of presumed that Walker's Point and at some point Torrance would then be able to, I don't know, fill the gap, get to the scene, and then by that time, train's gone, you're backfilling with the other. Is that in your mindset? Is that part of your practice?
Correct. Through you, yes, correct. That is exactly what occurs. The second thing that occurs is if the delay by train, so the announcement is once the first responding vehicle hits the train delay, they say delayed by train. We're keyed up, the officer on duty is keyed up, we start timing. If we hear our Torrance and our Walker's Points units start to arrive and there's a working structure fire, we immediately ask for mutual aid out of Gravenhurst.
Okay.
It's our hope that our units that are arriving out of Torrance and Walker's Point, they're set up to be able to handle a 2,000 square foot bungalow. That's exactly how all the standards are set up. So they're set up to handle a fully involved 2,000 square foot bungalow, but we are working in a rural environment. We understand we need more bodies when we need to get more water. So we will call on our friends in Gravenhurst right away to start attending.
Okay, supplemental?
Thank you. Through you. So out on the water the other day, if you know where Third Bridge is, Tallahatchie Bridge, there was the train was on that bridge and it was at the curve in Torrance. And that's how long that train was. Sort of Councillor Nishikawa's point, that is a 13-minute train. And again, maybe that's the kind of thing, if we know that, I mean, how is your 14-minute? I guess we can get there with the 3 Walker's Point trucks and 4 from Gravenhurst, but maybe that's just too fine a point. Is that what you'd say?
Through you, great question. So the reason that's a great question is I've looked at how other municipalities handle this that have a lot of trains that pass through their jurisdiction. Often what they'll do is they'll remove the abnormal or anomaly calls from the matrix when they're giving reports to council. So that would be anything over 30 minutes. And we will have some of those. And the reason we'll have some of those is most of those will be related to either our water responses are usually longer because it does take longer for our vessels to get to places. And if there's an anomaly like that where the swing bridge is open in Minette or the bridge is open in Port Carling or the train is delaying us in Torrance, that'll be highlighted for council. And we can also provide that as a separate document. How many times does that happen? So the council's fully aware of our performance. We do keep that data.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Nishikawa?
I'm curious, through you to the chief again, how the plan, when we have, for instance, Dark Bay Road closed, and how in the reporting, because I would like to see more reporting on this, quite frankly, and so, but right now I'm very curious, how do we deal with only one access, like 169, and then if that's closed for 10-15 minutes? I understand the idea of bringing from Gravenhurst, but honestly, that's another 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Right.
So I just want to understand a little bit better what we're doing now when roads are closed off. Because in my mind, we always had an alternative route, but we don't have that route right now.
Through you to the councillor. So a couple of years ago, there was some maintenance done on the swing bridge in Minette. So when we know that the maintenance is going to occur, we pre-position apparatus and we get our people ready for these weird anomalies. I'll tell you just how that went down. So what happens is the roads foreman gave me a call in the afternoon saying, and I think all these events tend to happen on Friday afternoons, gave me a call and said, we have a culvert problem. culvert slash bridge, because that's really a culvert there in Dark Bay that has washed out Dark Bay. I want to make sure that you're aware we can't have anybody go over it. You probably could get a half ton across it. And I said, no, we're good. We'll figure out a way around it. Immediately, we sent an email to all our fire officers in that area, and the on-call officers made aware. I actually directly called him and said, this is what's going on. If we have a call for that area, here's how we're going to display anything going to that area, and it has to go the other option. That's how we handle that stuff. So we do keep an eye on it, but we appreciate anyone telling us at any time if any part of the road network is not usable, because we have had our best intelligence come from people that live here. With the 2 dam collapses, and by dam, I don't mean to shock anybody, Beaver Dam that has washed out twice on Brackenrig. It was residents that informed our local staff, and then our township staff is fabulous. They give me a call right away. So we're well aware, and then we update both ambulance and police to the obstruction, and we're all working together to make sure that we can get past it.
Okay,
So thank you for the question.
Okay, committee, I've read the resolution. We'll now call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief Morrell. And I think you're on again.
Yeah, thank you. Through you. The second report before committee today is a report that concerns fire dispatch, a request to tender. As committee may be aware, we currently use Muskoka Ambulance Communication Center as our fire dispatch. This report highlights and recommends that committee authorize staff to tender that service contract for the fire dispatch services and emergency call taking. The current provider offers a cost-effective approach. However, it does fall short in lacking certified emergency communicators who meet the vital NFPA standards that are mandated by regulation and are coming in on a deadline of July 1st, 2026. This report kind of highlights exactly what the service is that we're getting today, and it offers some food for thought about the kinds of services that we can get from another provider moving forward. I now stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee questions. Councillor Zavitz, questions.
Thank you. Through you to the chief. I just couldn't help but, great report. How political is this? I know when you pull away from a multi-use service where presumably other municipalities here in the district are using it. Yeah, just can you wax poetic on that for a moment? I mean, yeah.
From just through you to committee, just so everybody's well aware, this the Ambulance Communication Center is a private contracted entity. It does work for both the EMS, the Bracebridge Fire Department, and ourselves, but they do that on a contract, and they are a private entity. They're not a part of the District of Muskoka, just to be clear at the outset. The second piece of it is you're correct. We've had a long-standing relationship with this organization. They're well aware of our ability to work in this area. We've worked fairly well together. There are some limitations that are highlighted in the report. When you're moving away from an organization that represents 2 or more emergency services, I'll take an analogy I heard today. Every kind of emergency service dispatch is like it's like air traffic control. For the type of service that you're getting, that's like a different layer in the air atmosphere. And the kind of service that we're getting today is appropriate for an ambulance service because that is their primary focus and that's their area of expertise. But there are some things that are not included today that are fairly beneficial when you talk about a fire dispatch. And just a quick one for committee's information. Firefighters don't take notes at fire scenes. So we rely heavily on our dispatch to record the information that we're giving them on the radio. So having an open channel during an emergency is really vital and important. And having a shared dispatch, that has been a challenge in the past. And I'm not saying that that won't occur with other dispatch services that we use, but other dispatch services understand the importance of that. And they also understand their exclusive role as it relates to fire department dispatch. So is it political? It could be. We've had discussions with the provider. They completely understand why we're moving or why we're bringing it to committee to consider the move. So this is not a surprise to them.
Thank you. Supplemental?
Thank you. Supplemental to you. So this is a vital piece of your toolbox or your toolkit that you would obviously very desirous of.
Yeah, through you to committee. Yeah, I've waited 6 years to bring this to committee. We've known that there's been issues for the 6 years, but we've made sure that we got the right data and really ensured ourselves that departing from the service provider or having that as an option, we try to work with the service provider to get some of the things that are in this report included in their service offering, and they have not wanted to do that.
I will read the resolution, and then if there's any further questions or comments. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that staff be authorized to commence an invitation to tender contract of service for fire dispatch and emergency call taking services, and that staff be directed to report back to council with the results of the tender for further consideration and approval. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Thank you very much, Chief Moreau. Thank you. Now moving on to, oh, there you are, Mr. Moore. I didn't see you back there. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good morning, committee. Today's report is in regards to updates to the facility user fee policy and the procedural bylaw in regards to requests to waive fees at our local arenas. Committee will recall in May, staff presented an outline of those two policies and were directed to report back with updates to ensure they speak and connect better between the two of them. The two amended policies and bylaw can be found in the appendices of the report. In summary, the changes to the facility user fee policy speak that a group or request shall first make an effort to apply to our municipal grants policy for a community grant. And shall they not be successful there, they may request to delegate to council for a fee waiver should they meet the criteria now in the procedural bylaw. And that criteria involves the event being available to the general public, available for participation is at no cost to the end user, and the event is conducted entirely for charitable purposes. So with that, Chair, staff are available for any questions.
Okay, committee questions, Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you to Corey. I guess my question is is there an opportunity when someone comes forward and there's been a history of use that staff can just deal with this, that it doesn't have to come to council?
Okay, Mr. Moore.
Yes, through you, Chair, and a very good point raised, and I forgot to mention that, but yes, the amendment to the facility user fee policy does state that authority be given to the director for those reoccurring uses. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor McIntyre.
My friend here has introduced the question that I have, which is if we have defined the test as to who is eligible, why does it need to come to council when we've got staff people who can apply that test?
Okay, Mr. Moore.
Yes, through you, Chair. Ideally with these changes, it solves all of those from occurring, but there is always those cases that do kind of slip through that would present that opportunity that we would follow through with this process.
Yeah. Okay.
So what are those particular cases?
Thank you.
Yes, very good question. I think particularly they may be cases that don't meet the criteria or the policy, and the group still may be wanting to request that of council. Kind of, yes, that's a good way of putting it. Yes, thank you.
Can I read the resolution? Okay. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that committee approve the amendments to the facility fee policy CPR-14 and procedural bylaw 2023-089 as attached to report OPS-2025-029, and that the amendments to procedural bylaw 2023-089 be forwarded to council for final adoption. Are there any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I believe you have a second one, don't you?
Yes, second report in regards to electric vehicle charging stations. As committees aware, over the last couple of years, we have been supporting Lakeland Solutions in their grant applications to install EV charging stations in the municipality. We received notice late last year that they were successful with those grant applications for 2 sites in Muskoka Lakes, one in Port Carling, one in Bala. Port Carling being here at the municipal office and Bala being along Bala Falls Road. The next step in the process would be completing lease agreements with Lakeland Solutions for use of our property. The details of those agreements can be found summarized within the report and the full documents themselves in the appendices. Just to quickly highlight some of the items within the agreements, all the capital infrastructure costs are to be incurred by the provider. The term of the lease is for 10 years plus 2 years to work out all the approvals that they require and to provide the installation. The agreements themselves can be extended at the conclusion of that time, should both parties be in agreement. And the municipality would be eligible for fleet charging discounts when the time comes, should we update our fleet. And that if the infrastructure ever needs to be moved on the property, that a new location be found that both parties are in agreement. With that, the last other item is the Hydro One permission form to do some upgrades there. That would be, again, just one step in the approvals that they require. So they would need that signed off from the property owner as well. So with that, Chair, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Through you. Regarding your Bala Appendix 1, the aerial view. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 charging stations. Or is it 5? 4, 5, and I know it's in your report. I guess my question though is that is directly adjacent to the public washrooms, correct?
Through you, Chair, that's correct, yes.
So is that, and I guess there is going to be a perfect place for this, and of course parking is at an absolute premium everywhere, but there. So I guess parking for someone that would be coming in to use that facility would then go on the other side of it, if you will. Is that your thought?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they'd have to kind of just park at the next available spot beside the charging stations.
Yeah, because that's a lot of compression there. I don't know, but I guess we've had this discussion for a couple of years now, haven't we? As this has been bantered around, there isn't a great spot for it, but that's a concern.
Through you, Chair, if I may, I know when they are looking for locations for the EV chargers, they do look for washroom facilities, public ones if available, that can assist with a user that's using those stations be able to access those amenities. So that is part of the reason why this site was selected.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chair, and through you. I know probably at the municipal office, we won't have this issue, but my good friend Councillor from Bella may have it, or within that area, which is people parking their car for an extended period of time with the charger on, and taking it as an advantage to leave it there all day. What will we have to make adjustments to our parking bylaw in order to address that possible occurrence?
Through you, Chair, yes, that's something we would discuss further with the provider themselves. I know they have some mechanisms themselves within the units to help alleviate some of that, such as increasing charging rates over a certain time, etc. So I think those would be discussions we would have with them on working on what those solutions could be, and if there's any requirements for us to update any bylaws, we would at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. Through you to Corey. I guess it's just an extension of what Glenn was talking about, because I found the drawing very confusing, quite honestly. And a person on the ground it's actually difficult to use those washrooms if there's a vehicle parked close by. It's actually, there's no parking beyond, I guess, unless you were, no, there really truly isn't. That's been the concern of the church, for instance, that we've changed this road, but now we have no parking for the church. Like, so it's some of those things. And I was very confused about the presentation that we got. And I was like, oh, is there other additional parking that kind of like, anyhow, it was just very odd to me, and I don't understand it. I want it, but I really want to better understand. I guess I'm going to have to, maybe we can put markers out, because I really, what was presented doesn't seem feasible to me, but
So through you, Chair, the parking that is currently there and marked, the pavement, it goes to a certain point and then stops, and there's a little bit of a buffer zone, and then the washroom's behind. So it would be those 4 last parking spots that would be dedicated for the EV stations. That helps.
so the other issue, so I happen to be, I had my mother who's handicapped and trying to use that washroom. That's why I'm saying it's really difficult. And yeah, it's not a handicapped washroom, but in fact, it's really not easy to get into. I will just say in general, it's very tight and things. So I'm just very concerned that we don't create more problems, because it is a very, very used facility and things. And
Councilor Ishikawa's point too, beyond, say in front of the cenotaph or near the cenotaph, there are parking spaces. This right here, as proposed, is the most primo parking in Bala. So, my suggestion, I don't know if my friends here would agree, but would be to at least, at the very least, move it up to at least that area, and then, put 4 spots up in there. There's some work needing to be done there, because I think some of it's just earth, but that at least would be preferable to this right across the street from the quay. It's like, wow, there'd be more cars parking in there that are non-electric, and try to find the owners.
Sorry, my mic. I will read now the question and then, or the resolution, and then we can open up for more discussion. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the draft lease agreement and Hydro One permission form with Lakeland Solutions to install EV charging stations at the locations attached in Appendix 1 to report OPS-2025-031. So now I will open up to further discussion. We've heard comments. Okay. Councillor Nishikawa?
sorry, I'm a little bit cautious about this, the way that what I'm reading is not, and in fact, one of the pictures, like I couldn't get the pictures to blow up or whatever. So so mostly could staff, or could we consider improving the access to those washrooms? And honestly, it's about the ground. That's what makes it difficult to get into that washroom. I think we have a couple of patio stones that aren't quite in the right, like there's just, could we add some improvements to get to the bathroom?
Okay, I will ask the specific question to you, and then I'm trying to figure out how to shape this moving forward. So
Through you, Chair, I think staff are definitely available to make those improvements if directed to do so. We certainly can do that, whether it's, some asphalt paving the area. I think I understand how it kind of goes from the road to gravel, before you access the actual washroom itself. Yeah.
okay, are there any other comments, Councillor Roberts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just listening here and concern and parking in Bala, and a suggestion of relocating. Is that site what Councillor Zavitz proposed? Is it feasible? Is there other places that where your second could have been the second choice?
Okay. Mr. Moore?
Yes, through you, Chair. So throughout the process, we identified multiple locations, and as we did that due diligence, it started to narrow down those options. Lakeland Solutions, they did apply for 2 locations in Bala. The additional location was the Portage Street parking lot. That application was not successful for the grant. So this was the only location that was successful.
Okay. Councillor Nishikawa?
Sorry, and just because I discussed this at the Cranberry Fest meeting last evening, and what is the timing of, and how would this affect Cranberry?
Through you, Chair, the installation would likely take place next spring by the time they get all their approvals in place and work with Hydro One. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you, through you. So I'm wondering if we could, I hate to say defer, but I couldn't support this the way it is, just given what I know about parking in Bala right now, here and now. I would suggest that we either need to review it. If I have to vote for it, I'm going to have to vote against it, which, you know, it'll be 9-2, 8-2, I don't know, but I can't support this the way it is, just it's our main street. Right? And it's the four main parking spaces in downtown Bala, if you will. So I don't know how we can push it aside and reconsider or consider more, but I couldn't support this the way it is.
Okay, so I'm trying to think, there are 2 things I think I'm hearing, and Mr. Moore, just let me know if this is what you're hearing as well. The first is the ability for us to improve the access to the actual washroom as we contemplated. I think that was one of the components brought up. The second thing is there specific to the Bala location, an opportunity to refine this location? So that, I feel like I'm capturing the comments from the councillors. So how do we address both of those?
Yes,
Your-
through you, Chair. I think the first one regarding the washrooms, I think we can certainly work within our capital plan to make that project happen and view it separately. As it refers to the Bala location and the EV chargers, should committee's desire be to maybe defer that specific lease agreement, and staff could maybe go back and discuss some options with Lakeland Solutions if there's any flexibility within the grant terms. I don't specifically myself know all the conditions of the grant, but it may be an opportunity to at least express to them some of the concerns heard around this table, and if there's any flexibility in any possible other locations, and would the grant funding still be eligible? Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. I'm not interested in deferring this. I think that our municipality has to get on with this. I'm happy that staff will look at the washrooms and take consideration before all this happens, that access is going to be, that's my biggest concern. I think the location is right. I think trying to move it up the hill will take away any parking to the church. But either way, I'm happy with this, other than making sure our washrooms are accessible.
Thank you. If we pass this today, it's approved next month anyway, so that gives them 30 days to work on it. So I would support it. It would be nice to see them move down at least one, Corey, so that you have a handicap parking right at the washroom too, for somebody that needs it. But that's just a thought.
Thank you. Councillor Burry.
Thank you, and through you. I find the conversation difficult because we're trying to micromanage a completely competent staff, and that is beginning to grate on me, and it's over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I think we understand that there are some issues, and it's good when councillors bring up the issues so staff may have a better understanding of that. But we're going to have to get on with EV chargers. They don't have to be in the center of town. People with EVs are prepared to walk a few spaces to get their cars charged. So why we're using prime real estate is beyond me. And I think that Corey can get that. As Councillor Edwards has said, we've got a month to finalize the location. Quite frankly, the Shield parking lot's got all kinds of spots that the hydro can get to. I think we have to let staff do the job.
So just for clarification, that process has already landed with this would be the location. So determining a new location, that this has been an ongoing process. I just want to make sure you're clear. And I think what we're hearing from the counselors, some of the counselors, is that there's some refinement in this particular location. Now I've heard the ability to have handicap parking in there as well. I believe staff have heard this. I heard one person suggest that we wanted to defer it, but I'm not hearing a second for that. So what I'm going to suggest at this point is I have read the question. I'm going to call the question in a minute. And I then just need to understand from staff, do we need to have a second resolution to capture future projects to make sure that the bathroom has better access, or is that something we can just, no, perfect. Okay. I have read this question. I will now call it. All those in favor? That carries. All those opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. That's been a long one. This has taken us a long time to get to that. So thank you for your work on that. We are now moving on, folks, to our new business. So I'd like to take us back to a couple of hours ago. We heard a presentation on our food cycler option, and I just wanted to open up the floor. Are there any thoughts as to next steps on that project? Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was a very interesting presentation. The district has embarked last year on a green bin and program that appears to be, from where I put my garbage, been very successful in reducing the number of bags. I'm thinking that they're suggesting that fellow councillors there must be an industrial size unit that all the compost can be put into before it goes into a landfill to be processed. So those are my thoughts.
I would, yes. So I'm assuming what you mean by that is that the district would have a plan on how to manage the organics that come.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments on food cycler? Councillor Nishikawa.
So I took great interest at Roma on this, and I would have liked to have moved this forward. Great success in Georgian Bay. I've only heard good things about this unit in Georgian Bay. And honestly, the whole green bin program and garbage, that's all provincial now. Like we are, it's not a district driven kind of, yes, it is, I know, Guy, but essentially those regulations are coming down from district. It doesn't work for everybody in Muskoka Lakes because, of course, of our wildlife and all of that. And others don't have, for instance, I talked to others and said, just put it inside your green bin. Well, we don't use a green bin. So there's a whole bunch of different people have different issues. I like the idea of having this option, and I hope that the township gets on board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, Councillor Bosemorth, Councillor McIntyre.
I think this is a really good way to deal with, these kinds of the disposable food products, or I can't think of the word. And I'm sorry the district didn't, or who's ever in charge of this program at the district level didn't adapt what Gravenhurst did and said, they should have adapted this program, because it would just, when she talked about the greenhouse gases effect, she didn't talk about how much it costs to move all this green bin stuff to the dump site and create all these facilities. If you could eliminate that whole cycle, the carbon footprint reduction would be quite significant. So I would have liked to do it, but it's not our role. I don't think we should be spending money on it, but I really like the concept. And for those interested, they just dropped the price of Eco 3 from $600 to $450. So there you go. Anybody who wants to buy one, they can save 150 without this program.
Councillor McIntyre, and then I think Mayor Kelly had a hand up.
I'm really
Oh,
excited about
your mic, please.
I'm really excited about this program because it seems to be workable. It functions really easily and I don't have to worry about the ravens and everybody else, dogs, raccoons coming at my green bin. My green bin already has a great big hole in it that's been chewed through by, I assume, squirrels. It's environmentally probably the friendliest thing I've ever heard about in terms of our household waste. And I just think it's a pretty wonderful idea.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kelly?
Thank you. And through you, I just frankly think that we have a relatively new rollout of the green bin, which seems to be getting good take up and good utilization. The stats out of district indicating by, I don't know how they measure it, tonnage, that it's well used and well disposed of. The issue that we haven't fixed or that hasn't been resolved, and I don't know that it will be quickly, is water access to, someone who doesn't have curbside pickup has to deal with this product, this derivative of eating separately. And there is no green bin resource when you go to one of these dockside pickups. The struggle that I have, a couple of issues. One is that, as I understand it, this thing is like a dehydrator, not an incinerator. And the product isn't suitable for anything other than to throw in the garbage. If it gets wet, it rehydrates, and then it starts the process, I understand, of rotting all over again and smelling and attracting vermin. So that's how I understand it works, and that's a limitation on the ability to use it locally for people who don't have curbside pickup. I also think that solid waste, we're paying a good sum of money to have that handled by district, and I think if there's value in seeing this put into play, it should be through district, not through the local lower tiers.
Mayor Kelly, thank you for that extra piece of information. I thought this stuff could be just thrown in the garden and help make sure plants grow. So it's changed my position on it quite significantly.
I think we heard from her that you can put it in your garden. So I think it does add to the nutrient loader. It is a dehydrator though. It is not a composter. So there is a distinction, but it can be easily thrown into the forest. So I've had two people, so I'm looking to Councillor Nishikawa and Councillor McIntyre bring forward support for this. And I just wanted to know if you're putting forward a motion, in which case then we just need to draft a resolution. Councillor Nishikawa.
At this point, I don't know that council's wanting to accept that, but I will say the interesting thing I found, I didn't ask those questions, but one of the problems with the district plan or the district is they don't take meat products. And that's a big deal. And so when I go to Councillor Bozeman, the councillor from Georgia Bay, that's the big deal, that his bones are getting like they're going away kind of thing. And I just found that in my household, that's a big deal because I feed my dogs raw. So it's just kind of, you have all that and then you still got to put it in the garbage, which I find that disappointing at the district. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I'm not hearing that you want to put forward a motion right now for this to move forward as a next step, but interest in the actual product. So I'm just trying to help with this conversation. There's not currently a motion on the table. Councillor Roberts?
Just for clarity, because we are in a public meeting, I put cooked meat all the time in my compost, and I had confirmed even with dog bones with the district, as long as they're cooked dog bones, they can go in the compost. So it's raw product they don't want, in my understanding.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, though it's a new idea. I've talked to somebody that has one. They put their compost right in the garden. It's fertilizer and that. I talked to someone else who has one. They have a lifetime warranty, where this one only has a 3-year warranty. They do break down. The person I talked to, I think, is on their second one, and that it was free of charge. There are the cost of filters, there are the cost of other sanitizers, and that's it. I'd like to know the exact cost per year for this as well, the operating cost before we ever went through it. And like I say, there's other ones on the market, you can see it.
Okay.
And that, but I don't know how good this one is compared to the others. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not feeling that there's a motion today. So I'm going to suggest that, we can follow up with them and say, thank you for the presentation. There's interest, personal interest, and I'll just make a final note. I actually do have one of these because after that conference that we probably were both at, I actually purchased one because we did not have green bin options. So I've been actually using one for a year. And it is, as somebody who is actually trying to manage garbage and understand the new direction in part, it has been somewhat satisfying. So I'll just, it does solve in-house issues, and I do put it out in my garden and I haven't had any issues. So if anybody who is listening has any interest, I suggest that they go online now at this point and research for themselves, and then we can consider this in the future if we wanted to. So with that, I will move on to item 12B, which is the West Muskoka Food Bank, the request for a generator. And I just wanted to maybe suggest, I felt like there was some information we were asking that might be better suited for staff to come back with a report, because this is a public asset. They've just gone through this experience with the ice storm, and I suspect this concept or discussion around a generator might be a bit better if it was more fulsome. So I'm looking to staff. Would that be your recommendation, is to come back with a staff report on this one?
Yes, actually, staff have been preparing on the side here a potential draft resolution. I think that's where the discussion is leading, that perhaps a staff report would be appropriate, just to dive into exactly the procurement process, the installation, maintenance, et cetera, and lay out all those details. I don't hope there's no great urgency from the food bank. Certainly should be able to proceed before the next winter season.
Okay, thank you. So we can work on a resolution to be read. But
I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this like a perfect application for a CIP application? I know, I don't know if we've used up everything for the year already, but like, they could literally have paid for the whole thing if they put an application in. They don't live in
This, so hold on for a second, please. CAO
what
Pink?
they don't want?
CAO Pink?
Thank you. Through you, just to clarify, currently the CIP boundaries are just in the urban centers of Ballon, Port Carling, so this would be outside.
Oh,
And this is actually also a public building, right? It's our asset. So, okay, so do we have a resolution that I could read, or not yet? If committee could just, okay, Councilor Nishikawa.
It was a bigger question about the whole site in general, like the township yard. And I'm just wondering if there is a need for a generator at the township yard to cover over other things, like if it could be, because we're talking about 1 day a week as far as the public being there. But having the appliances running all the time, of course, is a different thing. But I just kind of trying to feel if there's a better use of a generator that could be used by the works yard.
Okay, so perhaps Director Colucci?
And through you, so we do have a generator that powers the yard, but doesn't power the community center. So that's why this came forward, because currently we power, our garage and the fire hall that's there and our buildings, but and it fires also our fuel pump, but it doesn't power the community center.
Thank you. So would this be part of the staff report coming back then, would be helping committee understand, okay, if there's an opportunity here. We've just gone through an experience and looking at the picture.
Yes, and then, there are other options we could look at to see, like, if that generator is big enough to power this, and what that part of it would be. So
fantastic. Thank you. So committee, if you can just give me 1 minute, not really me, staff a minute as they draft this resolution, and I will read that. So move, yeah.
Glen Orchard, so.
Excuse me. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Burry. Whereas committee received a presentation from the West Muskoka Food Bank regarding a request for a generator. And whereas the West Muskoka Food Bank has requested a power generator be installed at the Glen Orchard Community Center to support their operation during a power outage. And whereas the West Muskoka Food Bank has secured a conditional grant from the Muskoka Foundation of $15,000 in support of the purchase and installation of a power generator for their use. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to work with the West Muskoka Food Bank to determine next steps and funding and report back to committee in order to inform the 2026 capital budget prepared in accordance with OREG 530-22. So does that sound good? There's no question, comments, sorry. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much.
So there's a school, but there's a property there that we.
Thank you very much. Now, the next request was regarding a street light request on Kidd Street. And I think just before I open it up to questions, I'm wondering if staff might be able to, I should have asked this question before, but could help us understand, how do we do this if somebody's making a request for a light? Because I suspect this could happen in many locations.
So through you, Madam Chair, so currently we don't really have a policy for adding streetlights. So, typically they would delegate and then, we bring back a report as to the cost, because obviously there's a cost, and, not looking at it in detail, we don't know what that cost is, because it could be significant if there's no power requirements there. We have to bring new power to the location. So I think, the best thing would be to bring back a report, and maybe, staff will look at coming up with a policy as to that, because there are other jurisdictions that do have policies with respect to requests where the cost of that, could be paid by the residents that would benefit, instead of it being on the rest of the taxpayers. So we can look at updating a policy like that as well.
Okay, Councillor Zavitz and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. And so towards proper, this is the only street that doesn't have an actual light other than at the end on Torrance Road, if you will, which is essentially lighting the community center. So every other street, even Section House Road, has a light. So, it just seems like it's been overlooked for many, many years. And their street has encountered additional development. There's at least two newer properties in the last, say, 8 to 10 years. So I think if we could establish that there is a need at the very least around the table and to the report, I mean, I wouldn't know what that light would cost, but if it's substantial, we need to look, I mean, here we are with everything else in budgeting. I mean, is that a $10,000 experience? So I mean, until we know what things cost, I can't imagine the public's going to be saying, yeah, we'll each pay $2,200 for a streetlight. So, I think we need a lot more information before we'd be able to make a decision beyond it seems necessary.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa?
Thank you. As a taxpayer of Muskoka Lakes, I'm already paying for streetlights in Torrance. Just saying, it is a norm. But I will say that it is very challenging to use anything beyond the community center. So we have a rink surface, we have a substantial parking, all in the dark. And as was mentioned, we've added residents to this road. It's very close to 169, so I don't think the power is going to be a bit of, I'm not telling anybody how to do their job or anything, but I do understand the need here, as well as there are 2 new homes coming very soon that will be also affected by this street light, the need of that. So I do hope that we move this forward. But again, we're already paying for the street lights, those of us that don't even live in town. So I'm just saying it's already on our taxes. And yes, it might be $2 more a year. That's the way things, when you keep growing, right?
So I think I've heard, just give me one moment, from two members that perhaps put a motion on the table to have staff come back with a more fulsome report so we can understand this particular opportunity and next steps. Is that correct from Councillor Zavitz and Councillor Nishikawa? Okay, Councillor Kent, I think our clerk is drafting something, so I'll just stay tuned on that. But Councillor Kent, you had a question?
Small comment. This is for Nick. I would have thought that in an urban center, we're talking about Ballahere, we're talking about Torrance, we're talking about Port Carling, we would have like a rule of policy regarding streetlights. Outside of that, somebody can make a request and say, I need a streetlight, and we can say no. But in the urban township, there must be a rule about what we do and what we don't do. So if we don't have it, we probably do need to get it written up.
And Director Colucci, just that would be part of your next steps.
Great, and through you, so that could be part of the next step. Obviously we do have requirements for like a new subdivisions when they're building, that there are requirements for streetlights, but a lot of the existing developments are fairly old. So I think a lot of the streetlights are ad hoc. So, people would request it, we would put it in, and they may not meet also the minimum lighting requirements for residential streets based on traffic volume. So, that's the other thing, when we're putting a street light, if they're asking for one at the end of the street, we'll look at the entire street because we may have to add more to ensure that we meet the minimum lighting requirements for those.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So we are just drafting a resolution. I will read this. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Whereas committee received a presentation from Ms. Donna Masters regarding a request for a streetlight on Kidd Street. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to investigate the request and report back to committee on the need, potential options, and costs. That sound okay? Great. Okay, all those in favor? Carries. Thank you very much. And then we had one final delegation this morning. It was regarding the magazines, the delivery of magazines on docks. So I will open it up if there's any questions or comments. Councillor Nishikawa.
And sorry, through you to who you want to ask. Do we have the ability to write a letter of an ask letter, I guess, or start out the communications that our municipality wants this to cease and desist?
Okay, so perhaps that's an interesting question. From a jurisdiction, I think it was even mentioned that it is difficult when it's outside of our jurisdiction. But yeah, so let me just say, so I'm just trying to add to your comment. So I'm not quite sure if CAO Pink or Mayor Kelly, if you guys wanted to at least help start this part of the discussion, so we can figure out if there's a role for us to play. Mayor Kelly seems to have his hand up first, so.
I was just going to say, I think Mayor, no, CAO Pink can do it. First and foremost, there's no use us trying to do something if we have no ability to enforce it. So we really do need to sort out the jurisdictional question. I have a challenge understanding, other than some sort of trespass, what right we have to step, once it hits the dock, I believe it could be our problem. What happens over the water is not our issue. We have no ability to control it or enforce it. So we have to focus on what happens when it hits the dock. That's really, in my humble opinion, sort of as far as our jurisdiction can go. And if we're going to prescribe any remedy, we need to limit it to what we have the ability to enforce. Writing letters, lobbying to Coast Guard, I think, is actually the ultimate, or the federal minister of lakes and forests, or somebody, whoever handles it at the federal level. Certainly we can take that upon ourselves, but we can't enforce that stuff. We have to be able to enforce any action that we take by bylaw here. So I think first and foremost, let's figure out what the extent of our jurisdiction is, act within it, and then beyond that, see if we can do additional lobbying or some sort of effort to contain it, if that's in fact what the next step should be.
So just one moment, if I see three hands up, and so I will come to you in one moment. How does one go about that? Like determining if and how we can participate? Sorry to put you on the spot, but.
Thank you. Through you, I'd like to suggest if committee is interested in pursuing this initiative or addressing this perceived issue, likely similar to the previous, we could come back with a staff report just clarifying the jurisdictional issues to determine exactly who may have control over such an issue and potentially whether the municipality can get creative in any type of way, such as perhaps a littering bylaw. But I would caution, I'm not a fan of bylaws that are difficult, if not impossible, to enforce. I think we need to be clear that it's going to be feasible, but staff's happy to explore those options and lay some out for committee if you wish to pursue.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go Councillor Roberts, Councillor Zavitz, Councillor Kent, Councillor Bosenworth. Councillor Roberts first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, are staff aware of any other avenues that could be pursued with this littering? Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Morrell. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. So we're well versed in the disposable of items in waterways and on lands. The Environment Protection Act gives that power to peace officers in the province of Ontario to lay a charge under that act, and it's $1,000 for the first fine. So that could be an answer immediately for the issue as it stands for the applicant or for the person that's asking for us to create a rule. We would need to investigate that though within that report about how that referral occurs. And I don't know if it actually has to hit the water in order for that litter charge to be in effect, or if that litter charge can be applied, if it's applied to the dock.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you. So to my mind, this is willful trespassing and placing, essentially garbage on my dock, on my boathouse, this side, and then this side, and it's two different groups, right? Doing distribution. I certainly think it's unbelievable when you think about this, that if we hone our sights to our own property. I own my boathouse and dock, right? I may not own the water and where it's sitting on, but I certainly own my property. So when somebody comes by and drops that kind of, and it's garbage, to my family, it's garbage. The next family, it's not. And oh, I used the bag and this is the most amazing bag, but I throw everything else in the garbage. And this happens. Here we have district representatives talking about waste. And that's truckloads. That isn't just a Chevy pickup. That is truckloads. I don't know how many places but that is part of the staff report. I would challenge us to find out how many packages are dropped on the docks of our beautiful place. Talk to Ballard Garden Center all the time when they're doing their work and their landscape work, cutting of grass. There the bags are in the water. And they're picking them out and they're leaving them for, so this is a very real problem. And I'm glad Mr. Gardner brought it forward. And I hope we at least can embrace it to the extent that we can, not to be zealous about it, but this is garbage of a mammoth proportion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent, then Councillor Bozeman.
Just as a matter of clarity, I would go the other route and say I'm an islander. I like the material that they drop. It's heavy. I read it. It's good marketing materials. There is no way you saw them drop it. That bag that's on my dock, it'll sit there for 2 months if I don't pick it up. It is so heavy that even the most extreme winds, which we get on a north facing point on Lake Joe, would ever move that bag and put it in the garbage. The only way it's ending up in the lake is that if I pick it up, take the stuff out of it and leave the plastic bag on the dock. And I don't see as an islander, that same drop-off service like that, we used it for our elections. The MLA used it to drop off their material. I think it's a communication vehicle that's nice for an islander. And it's my responsibility to take that bag. Once I open it up, I bring it in the bag, I put it on the table, we read the material. We keep it for a long time. We put it in the bathrooms. It's good real estate stuff. And I would just make the comment that I don't see how it's any different than from me getting junk mail in my box in Toronto. So I actually would just take the other part and say, we have things to worry about. I don't think that's one of them. And I think if you did a poll, it'd be interesting to hear how many islanders who get this are unhappy about that. I don't think they are.
Okay, hold on for 2 seconds. I'm going to let Councillor Bosenworth, now Mayor Kelly, and come back to you.
I can see both sides of this story. Certainly from an environmental point of view, this is not a very good way to be doing advertising. They do, I believe, one of them, I think it's Dockside, does 3,000 drops. That's in Muskoka and Lake of Bays, and I'm not sure where else. So and they, they have to drive around the boats burning off a lot of carbohydrates, which are, have a nasty footprint. That said, I tend to agree with Councillor Kent. I don't mind them. I often read it. And it's just sort of a natural way of doing business. It's done in the city. It's done all over Canada. If there was a way we could stop it, perhaps it could have legs, but I think the challenge of doing something and have it enforceable are pretty minimal. And I just don't think it's a problem we should spend a lot of time on.
Okay, Mayor Kelly and then Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you, I'm going to submit there's a real easy way to do it, to stop it. And that is to write every advertiser in it and say, if you continue this, I'm not buying your stuff. Let the market make it work. And if they get enough letters from enough people saying, I'm not buying rugs from your rug supply, they'll have to find a different way to do business.
Councillor Zavitz.
And beautiful segue. It's like we rehearsed it. I can tell you, there are many people on Brian Gardner's 300 responses that said they actually went into the magazine, called the company that was referred, and they said, we're behind by 2 years. So the advertising is working. This is a money-making scheme, clearly, and that's all wonderful. I have no problem with that. But a wrinkle here is that many of the books that you are glad to get on your dock, you can get in 48 places in Port Carling, Bala, wherever. They're sitting there, but people don't take them. They like it delivered to their cottage. And again, I don't think they end up in the water because the wind is blowing them. I think it's a willful, off we go. I got to deliver these all today. And that's how they end up in the water. I'm not making the water thing a big deal, but I can tell you, when you bring up that stuff from your dock, we're in the most beautiful place and we talk about the environment. How could we support that kind of willful waste? I don't understand.
Okay, so this has been a very healthy discussion and that's what this is all about. I do need to know if I'm going to have a resolution drafted to direct staff to explore this more. I need to have 2 people put this forward. So I have 3. Fantastic. Okay, so I will read a resolution and then we get to vote as to whatever that next steps will be. So just give us one moment. Okay, committee, we're ready. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Whereas committee received a presentation from Mr. Brian Gardner regarding his concern with solicitation of magazines in plastic bags dropped on docks within Muskoka Lakes. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to investigate potential avenues to address the concern and report back to committee. So essentially, we're just asking staff to help us figure out if and how there's an opportunity for this group to have a voice in this. Councillor Nishikawa.
Not that it has to be part of the resolution, but I am wondering if there's a possibility that staff could talk to other municipalities if they're actually dealing, if they've had this concern come up and if they've actually done anything about it.
Okay. Staff is listening today, so this is great. I've read the resolution, so I will now call the question. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Thank you. This point, we're moving on to the district updates. We now, as we all know, get our district updates within our agenda. I wanted to ask Perhaps I can just ask Mayor Kelly, is there anything going on at the district? And then I'll get to other specific questions that is helpful for the rest of us to know, or just I'll open it up to the questions on. No?
No.
Okay. Committee, are there any comments from the agenda items? Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Yes, it will be coming forward to the committee of whole. Huntsville, we're talking about rural land where it's 10 acres now, which is 4 hectares, going down to 1 acre lots, which is going to be hard on the watershed and flooding and everything else that you start clearing for houses and septic and garages and driveways. Where's that water going to go is coming down our way. And that's so, and keep informed on it. It'll be probably coming for the committee of whole in September, I believe. But it is something that we should be thinking about.
Okay, thank you. So that's on planning services? Community and planning services. Okay, thank you. Councillor Nishikawa? Just your mic. No? Okay. Okay, Councillor Burry, or did you have your hand up? No, or I didn't see that. Are there any other questions from the broader group on district items? Seeing none. Community events. Does anybody want to? Okay, Councillor Roberts, Edwards, McIntyre.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's looking at Fire Chief Morrell, who's been working with the Milford Bay community for a safety day on July the 26th, if my memory serves me correctly. It's similar to the one that was in April here at the Port Carling Center. And so I just want to make everyone aware that that's happening, and they partnered very closely with the Milford Bay Community Club. They're going to have food for sale, or not for sale, for donation, or even a handout for free, trying to push this whole safety day. So,
Perfect.
all right.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
If anybody's around Windermere from 11:30 to 2 o'clock on Fridays, there's hamburgers for sale with the Lions down at the wharf.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Nishikawa.
I wanted to ask a question, if I could, to David Pink.
Okay.
I found the information that you provided with us to Board A councillors about the key worthy of everyone receiving. And I just wondered if you could comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Through the chair, thank you. So concerns have been raised surrounding some activities after particularly resort night, but also increased events and shows at the Key to Bala. And the local police detachment was working with the proponents of that, and they have agreed to for some paid off-duty officers for some added coverage during, as well as regular patrols. So we hope to see an improvement in the activities surrounding that community after resort nights.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Councillor McIntyre. I skipped over you.
Big event, Friday afternoon, Science North is coming to Walker's Point Community Center. Send your kids over. It's going to be fun.
Fantastic.
If you work hard at it, yeah, you put good experiments every table, see what you have.
Oh, okay. Are there any other events? I have one. In our neck of the woods in Windermere, the group, the Muskoka Chautauqua group, has been working hard, as many of us know, over the last number of years to really revitalize and focus their activities at a festival in the Windermere area. It runs from August 1st to the 10th, so it's a 10-day thing. And there's a variety of experiences. There's music, there's art experiences that young and old can participate in. And I know that they are working very hard at working with the community to understand how to continue to grow this arts and culture hub. And So I encourage you, if you have the opportunity and would like to participate in a different area, for those of you who don't get out to Windermere often, such a beautiful spot to come out and have a look. They've got a fantastic website. There's a variety of things you can do. Some of them are hands-on, others are you're just experiencing. So again, August 1st to the 10th. And Councillor Roberts has his hand up. Councillor Now Burry has his hand up. Sorry.
Yes, and from the recent publication of the Windermere Gazette, it is a great little paper. They have in their request for residents, if they have area for artists and that to bill it. So if you're in that area, put them up in your garage, you know? So anyways, that's just a public broadcast to say, hey, they're looking for people to stay in your home.
Councillor Burry.
Thank you. Through you, I'm going to take us back to Public Works with the district.
Okay.
There have been, I would say, some significant implementation issues around the new contracts for both, well, for solid waste, organics, and recycling. And I want people to understand that so there are now two contracts. Recycling is a contract with the recyclers as opposed to the district, but it is still the same GFL is the contract winner, as well as with the district for solid waste and organics. So for those fortunate enough to get curbside pickup, even in the summer, 2 trucks will visit you. One will pick up garbage and organics at the same time, and a second one recycling. The district has had, and the contractor have had some fairly significant issues around route and route maintenance, who picks up where, and I want people to be aware that the district staff are aware of it. It has been escalated within the contractor. And I think that both have a good understanding of the requirements and the service level agreements in place, and that the issues hopefully will be resolved in the next short while. But it's a big transition to 2 new contracts, a new contract provider. But needless to say, some very senior folks at GFL, the contractor, are here around and are making sure that they've got their staff doing the right kinds of jobs. I've been intimately involved with it because our particular road has been the subject of missed or no deliveries or pickups in 8 weeks, and I went through the proper process using the Waste Wizard app to suggest that it hadn't been done. So I think that both GFL and the district have a very good understanding of where the communications breakdowns have happened, why the regular channels hadn't been working, why the escalation process within the channels weren't working, and so the senior people are now both at the district and at GFL recognize that they need to fix it.
Okay, thank you. And I'm grateful that you brought up the garbage program, because that going to these lake association meetings now, that probably is the most hot topic, is not only the changes, but also the implementation. And so the one question I have, because the other is just even the changes to how many bags of garbage we can put out, and how that actually is very difficult to do when you have larger groups coming to your cottage for a weekend. And these are it for the person who's in charge of managing the garbage, as we heard about earlier too, is food cycler. It's a stress for folks.
Yeah,
So I'm not looking to you to respond.
No, I'm happy to respond to this because I've been very involved.
Let me finish, please. My question is the appropriate mechanism to direct this feedback is through what? And maybe Mayor Kelly, because you're on that committee, is it through the district channels? Like, I just want to make sure that, you know, we're going to hear the frontline feedback. And I want to make sure, I'm sure there's tons of people watching right now, but if people are, that we are directing all this energy feedback to the appropriate group.
And through you, absolutely, the district is the right point of contact. You don't need to take it right to the director level, but you can. There is a gadget, I guess you call it, a waste wizard, which allows you to go online, describe your problem, your question, your issue, give your address. I have not personally had to use it, but I hear it's quick, responsive, accurate. The problem is in the execution, and the execution, I think, mostly relates to the startup of new relationships.
I think there's two problems, what I'm hearing though. The first problem is, and maybe it's because we haven't confirmed that bag tag program, is understanding the change to the amount of bags people can have and how they can manage at their facility, how it's being accepted. And the second is how things are rolling out
I
and
don't think there's been
implementing.
a change to the number of bags, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, you have one more.
No. So
They cut it down.
I'm
I thought it was
happy-
one line, or
I'm
this is
happy-
in town.
I'm happy to comment on this
Okay.
if you'd like.
Council- go.
So we have gone down to one bag. So there are two issues. One is the collection. The other piece is there's been a change, which has added the organic and organic pickup. So with the addition of organic pickup, the rationale is that there should be much less garbage. So they went from 2 bags to 1 bag. They went to a clear bag to try and determine whether things were appropriately being put into the landfill. So the one suggestion I would have is there may have been too many changes at the same time for a program to be readily accepted by the public. To exacerbate that, we as a township council have asked the district to look at bag tags to be much more equitable. And the rationale for us at the Township of Muskoka Lakes is if we gave everyone 52 bag tags, which is the curbside pickup in Bracebridge and Gravenhurst is once a week, 52 weeks a year. If we gave everyone 52 bag tags in the township, each person in the township would be able to decide when they put in their bags. I mean, there's workarounds now where you can take things to the transfer station and they don't ask, but there's a lot of rules and a lot of gaming of the rules. But if you want curbside pickup, so we're asking the district to look at the bag tags. Staff is looking at that, but the change to clear bags, to organics, the 2 contracts, one for recycling, one for the other, I think has led to some of the confusion. But that being said, if people do recycle and do their compost properly, it's really hard to fill garbage bags. I would say that a household of 4, I'll take my own, we have difficulty filling a garbage bag in a month. Difficulty. But you have to be really good recyclers and really good at organics. There are people, and I've chatted with them and say, I'm not doing that. I'll just take it to the city. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, they can do it, whatever they want. But the issue is we have a very finite resource in a landfill at Rosewarren. And when that fills, the prices are going to go sky high. We're lucky that we have something so local. So I think, to be supportive of the district staff in this space, they're looking forward 10 and 15 years to try and figure out how do we not have a massive jump in our tax rate just for solid waste. And it's behavioral. And we saw that when we started recycling. We started the recycling program in the public schools. The kids came home, they said, we need to recycle. And it's now pretty much most people try and recycle. But that being said, if we do properly look at what we have and where we put it and how we put it, it does work. It's just a change. And we all know change is hard.
So coming back to the question, was because we are out now in the community and this is actually something, I just wanted to be sure that all of us are able to direct any feedback to the appropriate person versus any of us trying to insert ourselves, and we're all experiencing it differently, right? So if it is the district staff, and what did you call it? The waste wizard as the first stop, then that's a good tip. So, Councillor Nishikawa?
I've been told just for that also when concerns come forward to send them directly to the director. So James Steele.
Okay.
And so again, I don't communicate with that ratepayer their concerns other than to tell them I'm moving it on.
Perfect. That's perfect. Are there any other things we're thinking about now? No? Perfect. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at 12:05 PM. I'm assuming we will resume at 1 as normal. And that the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 at 9 AM or at the call of the chair electronically from the council chambers, municipal office in Port Carling, Ontario. All those in favor?